Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Soto pulls one into right field for a base hit, and there's a milestone hit for Juan Soto, his 1,000th career hit. Now raises the glove high, and Kowser unloads to right. Gone! Holt hacks it in the air, left field. Frazier's back at the track. That ball is gone! An Oppo explosion from Cole Keith, and we are tied. Good ball movement. Hard sidestep, tries another three, knocks down another. SGA at the elbow, loves that spot. Oh, beautiful fake jump shot, got it. As TJ McConnell gets into the paint, Kenrich Williams chasing him. Now pull-up jump shot, he's good. McConnell saw Wallace turn his head and knocks down another jumper. TJ tenacity here in the first half. That is Nimhard. Shepard just gets it off. It's good! It's good at the buzzer!
Good morning. Welcome in. Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrus Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
How we doing?
Oh, we're doing all right.
Just all right.
Excuse
me.
I'm a little worried here about my energy drink.
I do not recognize the coloration of that can.
Yeah, so I'm trying a new thing here. I haven't had this flavor before, so I'm a little concerned how it's going to go because I don't have any other options.
Okay, so did you just go out on a humbug?
So I had a different flavor of this particular brand and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, let's branch out a little. And I didn't really think it all the way through before I just grabbed it and brought it here today.
What kind of?
It's called Sparkling Ice.
No, like.
Or what flavor?
What was the question?
You just said what kind of, I didn't know what the.
I know what the can is.
Oh, okay.
What's the flavor?
It says tropical punch.
Oh.
Which I feel like could mean a lot of things. It's a very vague, kind of ambiguous flavor.
Right.
So like fruit punch, I know what I'm getting.
Okay.
Right? Tropical, and I think when I saw it, my mind went to fruit punch rather than tropical punch. And now that
that makes sense. You're probably a little more Rupert Holmes.
I don't know.
Before I fill in the blank. Shane, do you know what I mean when I say Rupert Holmes?
That sounds really familiar, and I'm not. When you say it, I'm gonna be like, yes, I know.
If you like pina colada.
Oh,
Yep.
there we go. Okay,
Yep,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
Pina coladas are only okay.
So here's the thing about when people say tropical. I always think mango, pineapple-y, coconutty, which I am 225,000% out on.
Yes.
Every single day that ends in Y.
So I can do more of the
fruit punch?
Yeah. I can do fruit punch.
Man,
I like fruit punch.
I'm still probably out, but I much better than tropical. I'm just not into the pina colada coconut.
I'm not really either,
thing.
Which is why I'm concerned about how this is going to go.
I'm not going to go as far as to say pineapple is overrated, but it kind of feels overrated.
There's a lot of stuff that happens.
It's okay. It's just so dominant, right? You have to eat it by itself.
That's what I was going to say is and I feel like people are doing a lot of pineapple stuff now.
Right. No, I would agree.
And I'm kind of like, I don't need all that.
Yeah.
Right. And listen, I sort of feel the same way. There was a stretch. It was probably like 10 years ago, especially maybe like 7 or 8. And I love bacon. But there was a time where we were doing too much with bacon.
Yeah. No. You know what? Like
we were doing a lot.
I remember having some conversations where I'm like, can you overdo? You know when it started, you know what was really killing me?
What's that?
Was the stuff dipped in chocolate. There was a stretch where it was the stuff dipped in chocolate.
Nope.
And then it was finding its way into all these fancy Bloody Marys.
Oh, yeah.
So there was like this stretch. But I'm just going to tell you, like bacon is one of those things that I used to think, and I still love it. Like my love of it hasn't like changed.
Yeah, I love bacon.
But I used to think bacon can go with anything. That is not true.
Yeah, we're doing too much.
But I do love bacon. I I do love bacon.
Remember,
I'm a huge, but I like breakfast sausage too. So
I do too. I'm a big breakfast food, but especially breakfast meat guy. Like breakfast food in general is probably across the board my favorite food.
I still think I only eat the same 4 or 5 breakfast things. Like on a normal strip. Do I do eggs?
Okay, yeah, eggs are a big one.
I
So eggs, bacon.
I eat a dozen eggs a week.
Okay, so eggs, bacon, breakfast sausage,
Yeah.
hash browns.
So
You're not doing hash browns right now, but that's like a thing.
In my heyday, it would be hash brown. It would be potatoes or grits.
Yeah.
And I could eat it every day.
Oh,
and my variation.
I love grits.
My variation would be how I made my eggs.
Okay.
That would be the only.
That'd
I
be
mean,
the
if
only
I
variable.
wanted to like
You
spruce
could do
it
something
up,
up with the grits too.
if I wanted to spruce it up, I would maybe go to links. But I'm much more a patties over links guy, and I don't like the. I'll eat them, but I'm not gonna give the plate back. But I don't really prefer the links with casing. I like the links
I don't
that
either.
have the sausage.
I don't want
patty
the snap on a breakfast sausage.
And sometimes, and I can't wait to get it from my folks at Elmwood, but I've got some spicy breakfast sausage that I may just roll into. I might just not patty it up. I may just make it a link or whatever because it doesn't have the casing. It's just the natural ground beef the natural pork sausage.
I don't enjoy a casing on a breakfast sausage like that. That kind of ruins it for me.
It's okay.
I do like a crumble. Like if I'm making a
I used to brown crumbles.
Yeah, like if I'm
and just have them on standby.
Doing kind of a skillet situation.
Yeah,
like those crumbles are fire.
Well, it's funny.
You ever do chorizo in breakfast?
So Micah is the chorizo guy.
I love chorizo.
So he likes chorizo. It's so dominant.
It is. It has to be like the thing you're trying to taste.
There is a particular place in town where I think they do chorizo better than anyone, and it is not greasy, and it is sensational.
That's really hard.
It's sensational
to not have it be greasy.
They do theirs in house, and it's really really good, and it's still relatively affordable. I think as much as recent as a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's $3.99 a pound.
Oh, that's not bad
for a protein.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's way affordable,
especially these days.
I mean, it beats waiting around for 99-cent razor thin butterfly chops or something. But I was just talking to Les this morning. I am dangerously low on beef, so I'm much more appreciative of buying it on the old rancher market than the grocery stores because grocery stores are high.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It was a funny. There's a funny. I'm over it this morning. Which morphed into a different sort of funny topic, but because Canny checked him over being too particular, but it did strike a chord with me. But not because I think Pat was being petty.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's only certain people that say this, and I'm curious.
Okay.
So Pat, he was upset at the fact that people occasionally refer to ground beef as hamburger meat.
Okay.
This was just on my algorithm on TikTok where there was a guy going around and he said, blank people refer to ground beef as what? Do you know people that typically call ground beef hamburger meat?
I don't.
That's good that you don't.
I don't.
But that would make sense with your friend group. Brothers typically call ground beef hamburger meat. We're notorious for calling ground beef hamburger meat. So it was funny on the way over here. I'm like, oh, I know who he's talking about.
Yeah. And
so Canny wanted context. And he was like, well, over on the fan, I was sending some notes over in our group text to James Steele.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help but to wonder. I was like, man, I need to Google James Steele from the fan in Cleveland to see if he's a brother.
See what he looks like.
Because it was just funny. Then Canny got on him about being nitpicky. He said, you remind me of, you're like the person that's mad over your. You'll call somebody out on Twitter. And then Michelle just went in on, no, you need to be able to spell. There, your, like, I'm not giving you a pass on that. That's not the same as calling it hamburger meat. You know what I mean?
For sure. Also,
It was just funny to me.
Generally speaking, unless it's it's Jacob Padilla who has this can't turn the filter off on correcting people's grammar and stuff. That's just kind of where he lives. Which
his delivery is pretty funny too because he's so dry with it. You feel like you're kind of having your wrist slapped.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But most people only will correct the grammar when you're already being an a-hole.
Yeah. He said outside of Jacob. Jacob, we apologize. It's just in your natural disposition.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad thing. It's just you cannot be an a-hole and Jacob will be like, hey, you still need to correct your grammar, which I kind of respect actually. But most people will only catch the there, or the your if you're already being a jerk.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't think your, like the possessive.
Yeah.
I think that needs correcting.
Yeah, it does bother me when I see it. I generally won't say something, but
you know what I could see, and this is coming from a voice texter. So the there and there is like a real thing.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But the your is the one that would probably get me my attention a lot more than, THEIR versus THERE.
I agree with that, actually. The your versus your is much more blatant when I look at it.
And typically the people that are using your are almost always checking you over something.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. So
yes,
some sort of aptitude or knowledge is implied.
Yes, that's what I mean. When you're already being a jerk, I will say one of my favorite clapbacks of all time is when somebody goes on a full-on rant and is trying to call you out for something or whatever, or trying to refute something you're saying, and then they misspell a your or
and you just come back with,
and the only thing you do is asterisks and then you put the correct one.
Yeah.
It makes them so mad. So mad. It's incredible.
My man, Redcast Rob, who, he's crazy to begin with, so I give him some grace.
Oh, yeah, he is.
My man is out there. He's like, it's always hamburger meat. What else am I supposed to call it? Maybe it's
regional.
Maybe it's socioeconomic.
Oh, sure. Well, I just had somebody.
Maybe it's socioeconomic.
I had a listener message me that say everybody calls it hamburger meat where he is, and he's not here. I don't think, not in Omaha.
Mm.
So it could be. I was thinking regional because of him, but socioeconomic could also play a part there.
Yeah, maybe it's socioeconomic.
I think that's a reasonable conclusion.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know why I stick around for that, because I was a little late too, and.
You know what bothers me?
So I'm like 6 minutes off.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Today was the first day all week I saw Scott.
Really?
I was 0 for 4 heading into today.
Man.
I saw the Clan. They had matching shirts on.
Not matching robes.
Just the color.
Right?
I couldn't read the color. I was too busy honking. They got 4 honks today.
Clan with a C, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's make sure.
Yes. Which
I don't know if you're running around telling me you're seeing you ran into the Clan this morning. I have follow-up questions and I'm concerned.
No,
and I'm do we need to roll out?
They were all out walking. So I was like, man, okay. I need to have a positive approach. Let's get this thing going. But yeah, they had matching shirts, and I'm going to assume it's his son had on red, which I'm also going to assume it's Nebraska because they do rock.
Yeah.
Nebraska. Maybe they were like CWS shirts because you said.
Yeah, I saw him down there.
How random was that?
I know. He just called me out too because I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Ravi.
Although my description, could I be a sketch artist?
Oh yeah, no. Once he said who he was, I was like, oh, that's exactly how DB described him.
Yeah.
But I had no idea who he was.
No, I probably couldn't be a sketch artist. I could be the person
describing this.
Yes.
Yeah. He super cool dude. But yeah, he was down there, so maybe they got CWS shirts.
Yeah. So and it was like
it looked like his wife was with him too, I think.
Yeah. 646 is panicking for me at that stretch. But maybe that's the time. Or maybe because it's summer they're
a little more relaxed.
Well, if they're fraternizing down at CWS.
Well, you might have to sleep in there,
I wonder if their dogs get them up.
Mine do.
So apparently
Mine do.
Apparently we have so me and you. Maybe we have the only dogs that set the schedule. Because the more I talk to people about their dogs, if they chill, their dogs chill. I've never been fortunate in that regard.
So I think if you're a schedule-oriented person, your dogs learn that schedule. So like my dogs never woke me up until I started doing this job.
Interesting.
And then once they're like, oh, we get up at 5:30, whatever time it is, go outside, start getting food ready, whatever. Now they're like, hey, if we haven't gone to the bathroom by 6 o'clock, we're gonna be in your face, right? So
and of course, my TikTok is flooded with Frenchy algorithms, and they're spot on. Mm-hmm. Where the dog, they do the dog's voice, and he's like literally standing on your chest.
Yes.
It's like, hey, it's 5:30. I don't know if you know, but I need to go out now. It's like that's exactly how they are.
Yes.
Can I pet that dog?
100%. Scott says they were rocking the Platt Smith Post 56 shirts today. His son's a Legion coach for Platt Smith baseball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so he knows ball.
Yeah.
I should probably just ask him when all of a sudden did his son start. Why did he start walking with him? Is he back for school?
I don't know.
Because this is technically my second summer.
I'm wondering if he coaches at Platt Smith. Maybe he's either a college student or he's a young teacher.
Dude, we got a ton of Platt Smith connections.
Yeah. One of my wife's best friends lives in Platt Smith.
And so Tony's a Platt Smith guy. TJ.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, met his son.
I will say,
I had a very. He wasn't his son was. Both of his sons were probably. I was closer to them, even though he was in my department. I didn't work for him, but Jerry Barty.
Oh yeah.
Would always he loves that golf course.
Oh yeah.
Loves. That
I have golf down there. I don't go to Platt Smith a lot. It's just I don't really have a reason to make my way down there.
I meander that way when I go to Neb City.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm kind of familiar with that.
I've probably only been there a handful of times in my life.
You want to know a time I was terrified and
he moved back to Nebraska. His kid did. He used to live in South Dakota.
So he's like listening.
Yeah, he's
real
active
time
listener.
Man, okay. Well, I should just ask. Instead of asking you, I should just ask him. But I remember I got a ticket. I was probably 20. I was in my high 20s,
mm-hmm.
and got a ticket. I don't know where I was going. I had to go to the courthouse in Platt Smith.
Oh yeah.
I thought I was 8 hours from Omaha.
Oh, it does.
I was terrified. It was this little itty bitty courthouse downtown, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I had to walk up like one flight of stairs, and it's in this little brick building. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, this was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like it was yesterday. I was like, I don't anticipate any good coming out of this.
It probably ain't gonna go my way.
Yeah, that was probably the first and last time I stopped making appearances in court. Just gonna do the online thing, or we could just stop getting tickets. Not to go all Shedeur Sanders, but which by the way,
did you see some of the jokes yesterday?
I feel bad.
I do too, but it's kind of funny.
My man.
Like,
listen,
did you see
there is no parts of me that is a pile on guy.
No,
I'm just not.
I know.
Even if I don't like you,
yeah,
I do.
You're not gonna pile on.
No, I don't want that coming back, and it always does.
Typically, don't want to be a pile on guy, but sometimes the comedy overcomes my better sense of judgment.
Yeah,
don't matter to me.
Do you see who I'm getting DMs from?
Who? Yeah, he followed me yesterday.
So
I'm like, what is happening here?
How old is he?
I have no idea.
This dude is in my DMs now. You know what I did? I did retweet him.
You retweeted
I retweeted him and Coach Rule. But he was already following me before that.
Yeah, no, he started following me yesterday.
Did you see his peer group flock to him?
It's like a real thing, though, isn't it?
He's a rock star.
Yeah, it's weird.
But I still can't. I don't understand. I haven't
it.
paid enough attention. Is he good?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And at what point is he no longer baby Gronk? When like all the kids catch up with him?
I mean, what drops off first, the baby or the Gronk part?
I don't know.
I would think he's got to age out of the baby part at some point. And how do you?
So he just popped up at Matt Rule camp?
Well, he was at CWS.
I got to get with the story, man. I'm just old enough that there's parts of the internet that don't make sense to me. And I don't understand how baby Gronk is famous. You know what I mean? Like there's parts. It kind of crept up on me. This started, about 2 years ago?
I think so. And then people started talking about it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking. I don't know. Like when somebody said Baby Gronk, I immediately assumed it was a legitimate high school prospect.
Yeah, I know he was like mossing these little itty bitty kids, and he was a monster. But ever since I've kind of, man, my eye is tender. Whew. Ever since like the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and every time he pops up on like, I don't know if it's social media or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like he's not making the same plays. Like I think he's still good.
Yeah.
But
he
I
doesn't have the
never
huge
knew like
size
per his age.
differential.
But I do know like a lot of players that he's playing against enjoy giving it to him. So
Well,
that's kind
yeah.
of the target.
Yeah.
That's what comes with it.
When you're out there that much, it's kind of like the Shador thing a little bit, where if you're out there that much, people are going to enjoy kind of giving it back to you.
Yeah.
Like you do one of these on the sideline, like
Yeah.
you're gonna get what you got.
I have been so I won't make fun. I have been pulled over for the same thing
Mm-hmm.
in probably a 2-week stretch because the 10-day grace period still applied the second time, but the license plate thing.
Oh yeah, like the fix
I
it.
went 4 years without it ever being a thing
Mm-hmm.
to getting it twice in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's
Unless it was just like one of those things that came across the desk.
maybe.
Like, hey, you need to have the front plate mounted.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I don't have any brackets. Yeah, it's like, yeah, a lot of the newer vehicles don't, have license plate front brackets, but next time, you seem connected. Maybe somebody can get you a bracket holder on that thing. I thought he was being sarcastic, but he gave me the back pat. I think he was maybe being cool. I don't know.
Well, now you can pay extra just to have the one.
Yeah, so I think it's $75 or something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's $60 or $75, and you get the
sticker.
the little sticker.
Yeah, that'll.
I'm not doing that.
Hey, it's cool.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I will have it properly done.
You're like, I'll find a bracket.
I'm like, just give me another month and a half when I'm out of that stupid vehicle.
Yeah.
And I will be good.
Gotta get rolling out of there.
Yeah, I am definitely going the car route.
You think so?
I think.
You just drive too much?
It would have to be something amazing.
Using too much gas?
No, it just, I don't.
You were always a car guy before.
I was.
Yeah.
Until 08, 09. I'm like, oh, you drive these big things. And then I fell in love with a Cherokee, had 3 in a row, and then I've had the Atlas. But
I do love the Jeeps.
Yeah. My
Jeeps.
barber's, his coworker is a Cherokee guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's had, for years. That's how my dad was with Maximus.
Yeah. Well, your mom still got one, right?
She has an Ultima.
Okay. Yeah.
It just typifies their relationship. He has the bigger version. She has the similar version, but just smaller.
A little bit smaller.
That's how they were kind of.
Yeah.
Like as a team. I'll have the Maxima and you have the Ultima. It was cute. But he went to the same dealer for
That's how my parents are. My parents
35 years, maybe more.
Really?
Yeah, he went through Stan Olsen to Jim Olsen to his daughter. It was always.
Yeah.
And when I got my first used car, I went to Stan's top used car salesman.
Yeah.
Chuck Slodovnik. My memory's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah. I can't remember the guy I got my last car from.
Chuck Slodovnik. The reason I remember.
Yeah.
There was a chewed off cigar he always had.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like, man,
and he was a big guy.
You don't see that very often anymore.
And I was kind of small, and he's like, oh, we would just chop it up, and he's like, oh, I think you play against my son Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, that guy is an absolute monster. He pitched at Westside.
Really?
Scott Slodovnik.
Nice.
Could shove
flat
out, and he was a big, hard throwing lefty.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so over you lefties.
Man, there were a couple lefties at the CWS that were just throwing gas.
So it's kind of weird because that's not typically what they do.
Yeah, it's kind of an outlier.
Yeah, I get it.
Less.
I get it. There's sales and stuff like that, but you were more apt for a while, especially like in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
You were more apt to be a Barry Zito.
Oh yeah.
Than you were a sale.
Like if you got past the low 90s as a lefty, people just thought you threw gas.
You know what I used to think? It was funny you brought this up on a humbug too. You know what I used to think it was?
What?
Which is why I always talk about left-handers' arm slots. Is because they could do more.
Oh,
so they never had to really develop velo.
Yeah.
You know, but then you get enough scoop. I mean, you get some guys now that
they bring it.
They flat out can shove.
Especially starters. Like, you used to not have lefty starters that would throw high 90s.
Yeah.
That really wasn't a thing.
Discolored or no?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
It looks better than it did yesterday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, you have 2 lazy eyes. I think of Mr. Deeds. Did you ever see?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know his buddy Crazy Eyes?
Yeah. Steve Buscemi.
I don't want to be him.
You big Steve Buscemi guy?
No. My favorite role, he was a closet psycho, so I don't feel like I should gravitate towards him.
Which one was that?
Con Air.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild when they brought him out on the stretcher or whatever.
Yeah. I just was happy that when the plane took off, the little girl was still chilling with her little dirty pink flower dress. Because I mean, the first time you see that
was creepy.
You don't know you don't know how it's going down, right? Was it going to be a funny movie? Is it right? I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
And that was still back when they didn't show hurting kids.
Yeah.
Now it's like NBD.
Everything's on the table.
Yeah, unfortunately. And Shane, last night you'd like to know what was on television late. The Godfather 2.
Pacers Thunder. Oh.
I forgot how much I dislike Kay.
Oh man, she's a tough hang.
Oh.
Kay is a tough hang.
So
listen, Michael, don't hit her. Don't hit her.
Hey, so can I just tell you what I was getting ready to say? Like, I paused the television to see how intense he was looking at her when she said, Michael, it wasn't a miscarriage.
Yeah.
It was an abortion. I wasn't going to have your son. I didn't want your kid. And he looks like, I just went into character. I'm sorry. He looked like steaming Willie Beeman. I'm like, oh my God, this guy looks like a psycho.
Yeah. Ironically, also a Pacino movie. Steaming Willie Beeman. No, he does. Like, his ability.
That was not that.
Pacino's ability to act into that face is unbelievable.
Kind of a hot take.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much as when I saw it a couple years ago.
Godfather 2?
Yeah. And I'm late to the party.
So
I get it. But I did one thing that's consistent. I still can't stand this Talia Shire.
Talia Shire's rough in that movie.
She's such a whiner.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, Kay is rough in both of the movies. Obviously, that's the worst one. But also, that's the one scene where I was like, the acting and the writing isn't very good here. Like, where she goes, this whole marriage is an abortion.
Yeah.
I'm like, Francis, really?
Yeah, that was. I don't even know why I locked in on that.
I was just like, man, we could do so much. Like, we're at that point, we're what, 5.5 hours into Godfather movies, and then you just drop that turd on us.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing at this point? I will say, I enjoy watching the first Godfather better than I do the second. I know a lot of people think the second one is one of the best movies of all time. I think if you're going like film nerdiness, Godfather 2 is probably the better movie. I like watching the first one.
Yeah. So let me clarify. I'm not saying it's kind of. I don't even remember what I said the first time. It's not. It wasn't as good to me as I thought it was when I saw
the
it
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a late bloomer.
And that happens a lot. You see a movie the first time, you're like, oh, that like blows your mind, or you think it's incredible, and then.
And I think at that point, I mean, it was COVID, so I'm like.
Just looking for anything good to watch.
Yeah, my attention.
Point.
I was held.
Yeah.
Then I watched it over. I mean, again, the marathon through the course of the night.
Yeah.
From whatever time it was, 7 to in the morning. I'm watching 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
You know, she may be a whiner and 2, like you said, but by 3, she totally made a 180 by then.
Which would have been cool if they would have like developed how she usurped power so fast.
Yeah.
I'm like, how'd we just do the baton thing?
We skipped some scenes.
I'm like, now she's a boss?
Yeah. I don't know about all that. Which,
by the way, I am flying through Godfather of Harlem.
Oh, yeah.
Season 4, episode 9, and he just had his money taken from it's not the Genovese family, it's the other one.
I don't know my crime families off the top of my head.
This is gonna. I mean, I'm not stereotyping. I was gonna say Gamboa, but that's not what.
Gambini.
Gambini. But it's not Gambini. It's another family.
There's something very similar to that, though.
And I was gonna say, one of those names, but if somebody said like Leroy or Tyrone, I'd probably be pissed. One of those names. Hezekiah. No.
Deshaun.
Well,
I was trying to help.
Again, always towing the line, just diving right in. And how about Jacob pulling a Ravi the other day? Yes. How'd you?
I Googled 70s New York crime families.
It's Colombo.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a bad deal. He took one of the clubs from him, and it was going to be to a third party venture capitalist, and Colombo actually whacked the guy as soon as they did the deal, then took Bumpy's money. So Bumpy has to start over.
What Jacob do the other day?
I had made an admission.
Oh.
And he brought it back up again to teach me the lesson, and I was like, that might be the biggest Ravi thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's very casual with it.
I felt like I was catching a stray there for no reason.
No, but it's what you just did. You can't help yourself. Like if I'm towing the ledge, I mean you're pushing.
Yeah.
It's not kind.
I thought we were just coming up with names.
No. By the way, Shane, the more I think about the question as I'm watching these highlights, the more I change my mind. I was getting out of the truck or whatever that is, and Shane goes, would you rather watch bad golf or bad NBA basketball? And immediately I said golf. I take that back.
Yeah.
Although.
So he asked me a different way. He said, would you rather see a golf tournament where the course is beating
Shane, do you ask everybody the same question when you greet them when you're out there blowing?
It's just you two guys, so yeah.
Just 2 for 2.
He cut me off so smooth.
I know that if I would have asked you the same question I asked Ravi, about halfway through you'd have been like, get to the point, Shane.
He's got to be a little more succinct with you.
Fair. That is, I feel bad that I make you feel like that. I'm sorry.
Or maybe I just use Ravi as kind of like a
how to get the question right.
Yeah, how to get the question right.
I could actually see that because you do him-haw a lot. So maybe.
So I was probably him-hawing a little bit.
I thought it came out pretty smooth. He goes, hey, would you rather watch a golf course beat up golfers like we saw with the U.S. Open?
Oh, if you would have asked me that way, I'm definitely taking the golf because it's going to be one of the Opens. I'll watch that. It's better than watching 25-year-old journeyman come off the bench and try to get buckets in garbage time in the NBA.
Yeah, that was bad.
I'd rather watch Rory try to hit the fairway from 16.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the NBA.
That was really bad.
It was bad. It wasn't great.
But you almost never see it.
You almost never see it. And because of the way some of these games have gone and because of the way we've seen people come back, it didn't feel like it was over until later than it probably should have.
Yeah.
So I'll hang in there.
I was texting back and forth with one of my guys who originally, we started talking about movies. He's just gone back to hear the segment and he was cracking himself up. Mm-hmm. By the way, he's a big Mos Def guy too.
I like Mos Def.
Yeah. Not a guy that I would associate with the conversations we were having last night. I was floored at his range.
Really?
But we've always gotten along.
Okay.
Our kids have played against each other since, I think, 2nd or 3rd grade.
That's really bad, by the way.
Yeah, it gives me the willies just watching you make the face. You're going to let it get warm, which is mistake number one.
It's already too warm. I think it might.
And it's tropically. I mean, you're asking for a gut ache.
I might try and go get some ice in a break here because
that's just your voice.
It's the only thing. I'm not enjoying myself right
now. So it's
TK says so. He's a why? I love how that's become a thing.
So my mom tries to say it.
Oh my goodness.
And she's about as
like straight
tone neutral.
Yeah.
There's zero dialect, and now occasionally her Texas will come out with
the
her.
Houston comes out a little bit,
but it's only with like a couple of particular things. Pecan, and
sure.
I'm just gonna say it normal. She gets mad when I make fun of her, but orange, she can say a certain way.
Oh, how does Southerners say orange?
I'm not gonna imitate her because
Does she get mad at you?
There's a good chance she may be listening, but it's funny. It's very funny.
Imagining your mom saying "what" is really funny.
She goes "what." It's very soft spoken. It's one of the funnier things.
Blah, blah, blah.
Anyway, you're talking to your buddy about movies,
and it morphed into the NBA.
Okay.
And clearly because it's on, and he's a big Celtics fan, and so we were talking about style of play and how he admires the way the Pacers play, especially when they're taking care of the basketball.
Agreed.
And the game was so interesting last night because if you're OKC, because what was I talking about yesterday that game was going to boil down to? And I liked Indiana. I told you the line was not good.
I'll say the line.
But I'm gonna move past that.
The line smelled bad to you.
Yeah, it just was bad, and I didn't trust OKC's maturity.
Yeah.
They were inexplicably horrible, and even when Indiana couldn't throw it in the ocean in the third quarter for a bit,
neither team could for.
OKC was just like
they couldn't take advantage.
And I see why SGA kind of drives people crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes people mistake that kind of that carefree, laissez-faire, herky-jerk. I mean, when Nembhard is like just timing your little rhythmic moves, it's just like.
You know what? I mean, I can't remember if I've brought this up on the show or not, but one of the things I don't think we've given enough credit to is like Nembhard's been playing against this dude his whole life. Mm-hmm. Like Nembhard isn't
going back to AAU.
Like AAU back in Canada.
Yeah.
Like they play off seasons against each other because they're in Team Canada practices and stuff. Like he is probably more familiar with SGA's game than maybe anybody in the league.
I heard a great question this morning in the 5 o'clock hour, and I will relay it to you.
What do we got?
If you had to
look at that graphic Rico put up, that's great.
No, he's seventh heaven. Man, this dude is in his bag already. Okay, Suave, McConnell, TJ. Wasn't that funny? If you had to pick a player,
okay,
and be 100% right, lock it up.
Okay.
To get who they are in Game 7.
Oh.
To be exactly who you think they are in Game 7. Who is it?
Whole league or just the series?
Just why do I care about the league? I'm talking about Game 7.
I don't know.
I said Game 7. Game 7.
I know, but there's been a lot of Game 7s in the history of the league.
Oh, you stretcher.
Okay, so with these two
I may
teams,
start dubbing you Armstrong.
Whoop.
No, I'm dead serious.
Pete Crow?
How about Crow Armstrong doing work for the Cubs on the heels of what Josh said yesterday in the group text or the stream about Javi Baez?
Yeah.
I was laughing.
It's incredible.
I was like, yeah, he does have 19 bombs right now.
Yeah.
And got another one. But anyway.
So that's actually a really challenging question for this series because we have so little track record with any of these guys in high leverage.
But you're watching the series.
No, I know.
Who would you bet on to be the most consistent of who they have been in this series?
Probably SGA.
He hasn't even been that good. Okay, so you bet on SGA?
I mean, so
you know who I'd take?
Who?
I think he's been by far the most consistent.
Who?
I'd take Pascal Siakam.
That's fair.
I mean, pencil that dude in for the same number of rebounds, the same.
He's gonna have like 21 points, 8 rebounds.
Yeah, I would pencil. Give me Pascal Siakam.
That's fair.
Who's number 2?
Well, now Pascal Siakam.
I'd probably take TJ McConnell.
I was probably focusing too much on top line.
Do I have to convince you that the top 2 guys you would bet on for consistency are both Pacers?
Oh, probably not.
See, that's a problem for OKC.
Probably not. Because
that's a problem for OKC.
I didn't feel great about my SGA answer, but I couldn't go Halliburton just because of the injury and he's been up and down.
Yeah, he's been
and stylistically
EKG.
He's not.
Chet's been EKG. He got bad Chet last night.
J-Dub, same thing.
Although
he's probably closer.
He's closer.
Probably if it's not SGA.
You take J. Will. J. Will would be my first Thunder.
He's probably the first Thunder if it's not SGA. I don't think it's anyone. I don't think that anybody else on the Thunder even is in the conversation.
Do you like how I nailed the line?
Oh, what did it come out as?
8.
8.
Might be 8.5 now, but it was 8.
They opened at 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. I'm fascinated. I really am.
Yeah, because you know what it is?
Yeah.
I'm a big narratives guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you exactly how this is going to go.
How's that?
See, we're going to see 8, 8.5, and
mm-hmm.
people are going to think to themselves, man, ton of value. Pacers, right? Hot. All the pressure is on OKC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to talk about. All the pressure's on OKC. And by the time this bad boy rolls around, we're going to have convinced ourselves that somehow, even though ATS they're not, that OKC is the underdog.
Mm.
You watch. And what's going to happen is OKC is going to be the team that they were over the course of the season.
Yeah. I do think. I mean,
can't you just see the story? Like,
I do think Indiana's going to be way up against it.
That's why I bristled up. And it wasn't you for saying that you were chalking that the series was over. It was, I was bothered by the fact you were giving into.
I thought the mystique had been shattered with Indiana.
The play won't play. How's he going to play? I'm like, it's still only 6. Not only is he playing, I assume they think he's going to play reasonably
healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he probably should get some credit, not for just that, because I don't know if it was ever as bad as whatever we were intimating.
Sure.
But it is interesting to see how guys just go from being off the ball to being on ball to being off the ball.
Yeah.
Like, quietly, I have an appreciation for that.
He's one of the only lead guards in the NBA that's still able to do that.
You don't see it a ton.
It's the main reason.
You don't see it a ton.
It's the main reason that Halliburton keeps me up at night and LaMelo Ball doesn't.
Right, because
he needs the draft.
He needs
right?
the rock.
Like, that was the conversation. It's like, well, the Warriors, they could have taken LaMelo Ball. It's like, that doesn't bother me. LaMelo Ball really doesn't bother me.
Yeah, you know why I was never enamored with Doncic and
just near the ball too much.
They both usually they do their best work when they have the ball in their hands.
But Halliburton was a guy where I was like, man, that actually would have been perfect.
How about how he came out just jacking for beats? So, I mean, there wasn't a shot he didn't like, and I was like, oh.
I do think he's struggles.
Not going out like Willie Lump Lump.
I do think he struggles with the idea of
not being a scorer.
Oh, sometimes I have to be the guy that scores too. Yeah. Like, it can't always just be what comes naturally. Sometimes that's the one thing. Like, I don't think Curry forces a ton. I know some of the shot selection people will be like, oh, yeah, he does. It's like, no, it's just a good shot for him. But there are moments, like we saw it in the Olympics, where it's like, nah, Curry's just going to do this. Like, the gold medal game was a perfect, like, I know I'm Steph Curry. I'm the one that's going to take care of this situation. Halliburton isn't totally there yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he ever will.
That's not a hot take. Those two don't really belong in the.
No.
Just for the analogy's sake, I get it.
Yeah. I understand they're vastly different qualities of player. I mean, I'm the guy that thinks Steph Curry is the 4th greatest basketball player of all time. But, like, in terms of guys that sort of tend to let the game come to them, some of them sort of figure out, like, oh, there are times where that is not appropriate, and I got to go get it.
Right.
And Curry has that, and Halliburton. I don't know if it's something he can learn or not. I really don't. But I think it's something that I think it's something that does end up hurting Indiana sometimes.
Hey, Shane, so back to your question. Would you surmise it as, would I rather watch one of the Opens or bad basketball, or is it any course where golfers have a hard time manipulating the course?
I would say, and I thought about that too, I would say you'd have to make it comparable to where the Open is kind of
where the stakes were similar?
Yeah, stakes are similar.
So basically we're talking about one of the Opens.
Yeah, like a bad British, a difficult British, not a bad, a difficult British Open or a U.S. Open.
I'm going to take golf.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking basketball.
There's nothing redeeming about the last 6 minutes of that game last night.
So what if the stakes are lower and it's a regular?
What if it's just a regular tournament stop?
Regular versus the regular season game.
Yeah, like the Canadian Open?
Yeah.
Yeah, the RBC. No, I'm not watching that probably. No.
Yeah. I just don't care enough about golf for that to be the thing.
I mean, are you watching the Emirates Classic in tennis versus I mean,
I do watch random tennis. Tennis
that much is true.
Like, I mean, you know that. I was watching the Queens Open last week,
shout out to me for using the Emirates.
Yeah,
it is a real thing.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, like I was watching the Miami Open before the French. Like I'll watch the Cincinnati. Like I like tennis, so it's. And I understand a lot of people feel about tennis the way I feel about golf, where it's like I don't care if it's a major, I don't care how compelling it is. There's other things I would just rather watch most of the time. Honestly, like I have to like one of the golfers enough for me to care about golf. So it's not about the sport as much as it is.
I am not surprised because you to this day.
Yeah.
You're still going to convince me that given the metrics and the physics that tennis is more difficult than
I agree.
Striking a tennis ball flush is more difficult
100%
than striking a golf ball.
So bad tennis or bad NBA?
Man. Can I just go back to something?
Yeah.
You do understand surface area though, right?
Yeah, I do. You do understand 140 kick serve coming at your body, right?
Sure.
Like you're not touching that.
Okay.
Like here's the thing. Like it just comes down to me. Like there's certain things that are going to happen in tennis where you cannot make contact with the ball.
Can I ask it a different way? I don't really want to relitigate this, but can I ask you this?
Sure.
How about this? You know, I'm constantly always thinking.
And I want to make clear, I'm not underestimating how hard golf is because I'm terrible at it. I understand how hard golf is.
So, you know, a standard entrance exam,
mm-hmm.
you know, like proficiency. I know you've never seen Lean On Me, but they needed a state exam score of blank.
Sure.
Getting a 700 on the ACT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
SAT.
SAT.
Yeah.
Basic minimum skills test.
Mm-hmm.
If I give you 50 hours.
Okay.
If I give you 50 hours of practicing tennis,
mm-hmm.
50 hours of striking a golf ball. At the end of those 50 hours, which one am I more likely to have better command of?
I think you will be better at striking a golf ball. There's just you have a variable in tennis that you do not have in golf. And that's someone's trying to make sure you don't hit the ball.
So disappointing. It's in every sense of the word. So disappointing. It's okay.
Listen,
it's okay.
I'm not dismissing how hard golf is. I know how hard it is. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'm just
it's where I wish we could play music and R.I.P. to Nightbird. It's okay. I moved to California in the summertime. I thought that
I'm unfamiliar with Nightbird.
All day, all night. No, it's a really good song.
Yeah.
She got the golden thing punched on.
Oh, the golden buzzer?
Yeah.
Dude, I am kind of
made Simon Cowell cry while he was drinking his Sonic.
I am kind of a sucker for some of those.
Which, by the way, you wanna be entertained?
Yeah.
Go take a freshly turned 7-year-old.
Are you not entertained?
To get a slush.
Oh yeah.
With more than 6 options.
Dude, the same thing. I mean, it doesn't stop at 7. I do that with my wife, and she's thrilled.
It's fascinating.
You know how many times a week that
I was floored at how we just couldn't understand that flavor is probably not going to be good with that flavor. It was just the sheer joy of it.
Yeah.
And she learned to. I wanted her to put the lid on first because there's no way I thought she could control the levers. So she did learn the difference between needing some air because she would put it like all the way there and it wouldn't come out the way she wanted. Then she'd try to move it down a little and it would come out fast. And so watching her navigate it, and the 2 construction workers that were watching us, I'm sure were just like, dude, just do it for her. This is driving me crazy. But I'm like, in my heart of hearts, I'm like trying to message them. I'm like, you guys, if I could pull like a Professor Xavier, guys, this is hilarious. She has no idea how much joy I'm getting from this. I'm not gonna do it for her. No.
I'm not gonna stop it.
Ravi, is there any other way I could ask the question, or you just?
No, I don't think so.
You're just gonna dig in.
Here's the thing. If we're talking about doing this at a professional level.
No, I gave you simple parameters.
I know.
50 hours of mastery.
Yeah.
50 hours.
Yeah, you're going to have a better chance at striking a golf ball well.
Okay. I'm not waving the white flag because that's typically not in my nature.
Yeah, you're not surrendering. You're just acknowledging that we're going to fundamentally disagree.
I will concede that is about as dense a dome as I've ever come across on a regular basis. I mean, that thing is like Juggernaut in the X-Men 2.
Listen, it's a difference of opinions. It's okay.
All right, it's fine.
He was terrible in X-Men 2, by the way.
Juggernaut?
Yeah.
That was your takeaway.
T-Mac, I understand you're not playing tennis against a pro when you start out. You're also not hitting out of the rough at Oakmont when you start out either.
He sent me the
if you're telling me like
funniest reel last night.
I get 50 hours off of a nice tennis machine versus I get 50 hours off of a driving range. I'm still taking golf. Then I'm going to end up striking the ball better after 50 hours. Like if we can't go all.
There's not a snowball's chance in heck that's true.
Yeah, it is. 50 hours.
Just the mechanics of the swing, the margin of error, the surface area of actually striking the ball. I mean, come on.
I think you're overestimating the surface area you have to strike a tennis ball well.
I know one has got considerably more margin for error, i.e. a racket to a little tennis ball, than the head of a club to a golf ball.
Okay, you can make contact with the racket. That doesn't mean you're actually going to contact
I'm just talking
well.
about 50 hours.
I understand that. You're going to be better off of a golf ball.
I don't even really like him, man, but that is just ludicrous.
Not a big Lulla guy?
Nah, I mean, he's okay. He's okay.
I was a big Lulla guy back in the early 2000s. It was very popular.
I'm just waiting for more of your. You're probably a big Frito guy in The Godfather, weren't you?
Fredo,
yeah. You know what I was thinking of? Real
chips?
time? No. Because for whatever the reason on the HBO series, Two Towers has been coming on. So I had Frito, Fredo,
yeah,
Alfredo. So in her spaghetti bake.
Not a big Fredo guy. No, I do really like.
You probably have some random off-brand that's like, oh man,
I like Tom a lot. The consigliere.
Yeah,
Tom's a good dude. I like Tom.
He's always such a little peacemaker
guy,
like his role.
Yeah. Well, he's not a wartime consigliere, as we learned.
Don't matter to me.
I feel like I need to be providing you with some olive oil before I get you from your belly button to
Jankos,
the old heart, man. And how'd the guy shooting off the balcony miss?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you got 6 shots at it. He has 2, and you get clipped? I don't know, man. Dude, how fake was the blood, though?
Oh, the blood is a little rough in Godfather. I chalk that up to the 70s.
Shane, is it Can or Con? Caan, the actor.
James Caan.
Con, right? Big James Caan guy?
He does well in that role.
You probably love that character, didn't you?
No, I'm not a huge fan.
Saying.
I like Tom. Vito's actually, I think, my favorite character.
Both Cons are okay.
Really?
Yeah. I like Vito.
It's James and Michael, right?
His son.
Scott.
Who's he? Scott Con?
Hawaii 5-0.
Scott.
I don't know if that helps you at all.
Con.
You've seen him.
I mean, I'm sure. Can your boy get a visual?
Oh, yeah, you can get a Google.
He was in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Never seen it. Again, I reiterated yesterday, not a big driving car movie. I don't know. And it was long before Daisy, so don't typecast me. Oh, yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they have a striking resemblance.
No, I like.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I like Vito over Michael. Vito, I think, is my favorite character in The Godfather.
Hot take?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite parts of Godfather 2 are the flashback scenes to young Vito. Those are my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
With Robert De Niro playing young Vito. By far my favorite scenes.
Big fan of that mustache.
It's a good look for him, like for a early.
It is not a good look
20s gangster. Yeah, it's a good look.
Fudge.
10s, 20s, whatever, how old he is in that.
10s, 20s, 30s.
Have you seen the extended version where they started with the old stuff first? And
they do it in chronological order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, is it good?
I like it. It's a different way to tell a story for sure. I'm a big Godfather nerd, so like I've seen most versions that they've got.
To fit my personality, that I probably would like that more.
Oh yeah, because it's a little more straightforward.
But I do like connecting pieces.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe the flashback scenes in
I did not like Pulp Fiction, and I did not make it through. So I'm a little leery of
disjointed timelines.
Yeah, but I do like Kill Bill.
Yeah. I will say Pulp Fiction, the first time I saw it was like, wasn't really sure. Like it took me a while to figure out what was going on.
And plus I was way behind the buzz too, so I needed it to meet the expectation level of the frenzy.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. Sure. Like if I'd have got in at the ground level,
I feel you.
I would have probably been able to work up my level of excitement.
I'm the guy that like if you tell me to go watch something too many times, I won't watch it just out of spite.
You won't?
Yeah. Like if somebody tells me too many times.
I'm not surprised.
I do this to my
surprise.
I do this to my brother all the time. Like, and there's one specific movie he did this with, and I literally just had to tell him at some point. I was like, "You realize I am never gonna watch this movie now. I don't care how good it is."
Why be like that?
I don't know. It's just something in my soul. Like it's like a guttural response. It's not even something I'm choosing, but it's every time he like gets a little too pushy on something. I'm like, "Don't hot fuzz me, bro. Don't do it."
The least surprising news ever.
Well,
other than your tennis answer.
I'm a little petty, like Tom.
Wow. Yeah. Don't come around here no more.
Free falling. Coming up on the show today, we've got our Friday regulars, Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska.
Who was at camp again last night?
Coming up next, apparently.
You know who he ran into?
I guess we don't take breaks in the first hour anymore. What's up? Who did he run into?
Michigan Lance.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he had LG at camp.
We'll talk to Mike Sautter at 9 like we always do. Get a little wrap up on our 7-on-7 state champions. And at 9:45, of course, we'll talk to Matt Vrzal. That's the lineup for today. That's CB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live. I'm Ravi Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at West Roads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to West Roads.
$2.50 round trip. Can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
You're a Louisiana kid. How much does this mean to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. This is everything that I've ever dreamed of, playing in front of all these great fans, playing with all the guys that I love so much. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for what's to come.
How do you describe what Jared Jones just did today?
I mean, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, that's his second walk-off hit of the year. Biggest game of baseball we've ever played in, or at least I've ever played in, and for him to come through in that moment, that was something special.
If you take a look in the dugout throughout the game, you guys are energetic, you're happy no matter what the score is, doesn't matter. Why do you guys have that attitude no matter what?
We're tough and we're confident. I mean, we've played in every kind of baseball game that you can play. We've blown out people, we've been beat, we've came back. I mean, it's just the toughness of this team, like we're never out of it, and that showed right there at the end.
Yeah, you got to step up for your team today in some big pinch hit situations. How were you able to do that?
Just staying focused. I mean, just knowing that the time would probably come at some point and just being ready, taking it one pitch at a time and ultimately not trying to do too much, just trying to get it to the next guy.
A successful financial future is built one coin at a time. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned saver, we've got the financial resources and team of experts who will be with you every step of the way. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DBM Ravi, Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you, if you're on your way to work this morning, keep those eyes focused and straight ahead. You've got one job as a driver, that's to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We are joined now by Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, bud?
Hey, not too much. How about you guys?
TV, how long have you been home, man? Reports are you were late leaving camp last night as you ran into my man Michigan Lance. Like, how much time do you spend at home, man? You did stadium rat.
Yeah, no, it's been a month. Yeah, I think in retrospect, like, yeah, a lot of hours in Memorial this month. But not more so than, a lot of reporters on the beat. So credit to, again, a lot of people doing a good job covering this program.
Oh, that's awful nice. Switzerland this morning.
Look at that.
United Nations.
He's not like me. I'd be like, damn straight, I'm better than everybody.
Hey, so it was funny too, because when Lance sent me the message, he goes, "Hey, I met your guy TV last night. Seems like a good dude." And I was like, "Wait, you don't get to call him TV yet. Like, are you?" That's what I say. He's Tim to you.
He's Mr. Verghese to
right?
you.
You know what I mean? I felt some type of way about that, but. So you kind of understand the method to the madness, right? Where the risk reward, kind of the effort it takes to do these different kinds of camps. I mean, this is just kind of going to be like, we're going to put things in the calendar and see what shakes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, like, just a fun little story from last night. Me and Trey was sitting out a drill. And so me and him were like chopping it up on the sideline a little bit. And Langston walks in. And he's immediately like, "Whoa, who's that?" And I was like, "Yeah, who is that?" And we're like,
because of his size and length.
Yeah, we're just trying to get an idea of who that is, and we're like, "Is that Devin Jackson?" He's like, "No, Devin doesn't get into like 8 p.m. Like, his official visit doesn't start till later tonight." We're like, I wonder if that's maybe the 2020. There's a 2077 at First Academy we both really like, and we're wondering if it was him. And so went over there. Introduced ourselves and like, yeah, Langston Griffin, and talked to his dad, and kind of got the whole thing, and got to talk to his dad a little bit, just because I covered Michigan, got to kind of like share some stories about the class I got to cover, and obviously that class that won that championship.
So what'd you see?
Overall camp yesterday, Langston didn't end up working out, but I just generally watching the tape, I do like the prospect. So I'm very intrigued now to kind of follow his junior season. Yesterday's camp was a smaller group, but I thought it was, again, like the fact that all this month, Nebraska, no matter how big or small the camp has been, they've managed to bring elite prospects in town. Last night, it was, for us, the number 49 player in the country, and the number 51 player in the country, Cameron Wagner, number 7 offensive tackle in the country. And then you had Amari Vickerson, who's the number 4 defensive tackle in the country. And the Vickerson one's interesting. Wagner's been on campus a couple of times already. He visited for a game in the fall, visited earlier this spring, and was back just to, kind of get some instruction from Donovan Raiola. The interesting thing with Vickerson, I had kind of wrote Nebraska off in that recruitment because Nebraska was involved early because his dad and Terrence Knighton played together. That was the connection. That's why Nebraska was in there early. When Knighton moved on, Florida State immediately became a top school for Vickerson. I figured Nebraska was just going to be out of it. They weren't going to, even try. Jamar Mosey's been on the phone with him since Tuesday, and so is Terry Braden. They kind of were just like, over the course of 3 days, convinced him to hop on a plane at 5 a.m. yesterday to come to Nebraska on a whim, and then camp. And then he had dinner with Jamar Mosey last night, and is, kind of now, back considering Nebraska again. And his dad was there working him through some drills as well. And this is a high school sophomore going on junior year that is currently 6'4", pushing 300 pounds and moving really well. And again, just looks like a grown man as a 15 or 16-year-old.
So, Tim, random question here that I thought of while you're kind of describing the movement and frame of this offensive lineman. As you're looking at high school guys that are projecting to be offensive tackles, especially, I guess is where this question is particularly going, but I guess on interior linemen to a certain extent as well. Do you prefer the guys that are kind of leaner and that can move really well and that are going to have to put on a decent amount of weight? I'm talking at least like 30 pounds, like you guys that start off pretty lean. Or do you like the guys that like the frame is already built out and you're like, I can teach the footwork or I can do this or whatever? Like, is there a type, like a body type you gravitate toward as they're younger to say, those are the type of prospects I really like?
Me personally, at tackle, I prefer a leaner body type at a younger age. Just because, I know I can put the weight on, but I can't really, like if technique's broken at a young age or the guy's off balanced or, has poor footwork or, just has something like, you can't really fix that, but you can always add weight to certain frames. I distinctly remember, there's a couple guys Nebraska brought in back in the day that, at offensive line that were leaner body types that just never put on the weight, even though they had, talent. So there's, to a certain extent, you can always put on the weight. Where I've gotten conflicted in that just general belief has been seeing what Kyle Flood at Texas has done recently with the body types he's brought in. Cam Williams was, a guy that, made like declared for the draft early and had some early buzz, obviously slipped in the draft, but he was a guy that I remember seeing at Duncanville and he was built like a fridge, and it was just way too big, sloppy body weight, all of that. And they converted his body, like he lost 40 pounds, gained back 20 in muscle. They completely converted his body over the course of a year, and it worked out. And they've done that time and time again. That's kind of what Kyle Flood has done is bring these big, kind of goofy looking body types in, but guys that have the size and can carry the weight. It's to me, I'm personally I think you need athletes out there at tackle. I prefer leaner body types at tackle, but I can recognize at the interior. But it is an interesting school of thought to be like, okay, this guy knows we can carry the weight, even if it's bad weight. We know he can carry the weight and move well and knows how to use that weight and is naturally strong. We can just convert that body into something better, But that's just it's all very based on the coach. For me personally, I've always preferred just a leaner body type.
Yeah, I mean, the age-old rule, I think, and it works for the most part, is I just check ankles and calves.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And the other general rule of thumb is it's easier to put good weight on than it is to take bad weight off and still get the same. Like, if you have a vision for what a guy can do, you always want to work towards. You don't ever want to say, I wonder what he would look like leaner. You want to say, I wonder what he would look like bigger. A little stronger, a little bigger, right? I think that you can do either one of those. You're probably going to be more accurate with going lean to bigger, right. Typically, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. Especially when you're a program like Nebraska or whatever, a school that has the resources here, the strength and nutrition program and things like that. And no, I've written off. Again, I don't do it to their faces or anything, but I've completely just written off high school offensive linemen just off of like looking at their ankles and their calves and being like, nope, I'm good. I'll let someone else, take that risk.
So let me ask you something, because speaking of writing off and then all of a sudden back in the fold, I was joking earlier this week. We were kind of on these recruiting rants, and I think Ravi still got one saved that he wanted to get back to today, where you wanted to give some pushback to something. I don't know if it's going to be with Tim or not, but with Nayland Scott, all the Nebraska fans, kind of the ones that follow recruiting that close, it was just April 29th, April 30th that they kind of had their hearts broke, right? With Nayland Scott's commitment. And just a couple of months later, not even, he's back in Lincoln. What happened?
Yeah. I was surprised as most that commitment came so early, because that first Nebraska visit went really well for Nayland and his family, and there's some ties there with Tequil Shorts. And so there's, there was a lot of reasons for me to think, okay, this is a recruitment Nebraska's going to have a shot at in June. And then he made that early commitment, and I talked to some people closer to Arizona State, and they were like, Arizona State has a pretty strict no-visit policy, so I can't imagine he's going anywhere else. He's not going to explore any other schools. And again, thought that was a bit surprising. I thought Nebraska was going to get an OV. And, kind of this week, last week starts to trickle in that, hey, Nayland could be back. Nayland, there's a chance Nebraska's going to push to get this visit happening. There's been some dialogue with the Keel Shorts, and, the credit to Shorts, never stopped communicating, never really stopped kind of pushing there. And now they're going to get an opportunity to get him on campus and potentially pull it off this weekend. So I really like the player. I think if you watch the film, it's hard not to like the player. Not a burner, but a good route runner. Go up and get it, and kind of does some of the little wide receiver stuff you want. Well, can be like a future wide receiver one type. Like, you look at him and you're like, okay, there's some Dane Key in this frame. There's some Dane Key in this tape.
Tim, as you're speaking of some high profile guys that have decommitted places and then now committed other places, I did want to kind of return to the CJ Bronaugh of it all here, because I'm having obviously I understand he's a good prospect, right? Nebraska evaluated him early, liked him early, and then everybody in the rest of the free world realized that he's a good football player too. I'm having a really hard time, and I'm
not a framing question at all there, TV. Not at all.
Well, listen. We run the show. I'm trying to get what I want out of it, all right? Tim, I'm curious, especially with your guys' message boards and stuff like that, because obviously we see a lot of reaction from fans kind of live while we're doing this and in our mentions and stuff like that. You see it a lot on the message board side. I'm curious if you understand the level of, I guess the word I want to use is panic. It seems like people were really freaked out about the decommitment. And I mean, I'll let you answer. I've got obviously my opinions about it, but I guess, do you understand the general fans sort of freak out over the decommitment of CJ?
I'm pulling up a chair.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand it.
You think it's justified? Maybe that's a better answer.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's justified. I get it. Just in the sense that, and I also do think, I mean, we framed it like hey, Nebraska was early to CJ, but there are people out there that are like, CJ, we were the first to believe in you. You had 0 offers and 0 stars when we, it's like, I mean, the kid had just was in the middle or wrapping up a junior season in which he had 6 interceptions, already had offers from Oklahoma and Wisconsin, and, Miami and Florida were already sniffing around. Nebraska was early to offer, and credit to them, got him on campus, treated him like a priority that very first visit, and, did a very good job of getting in that recruitment early, establishing themselves as a top contender, and securing his commitment in the fall, and did all of the right things, to maintain and hold his commitment to the point where, finally it was like hey, decommit. And little peek behind the curtain, he made that first official visit to Florida, and Florida didn't talk NIL at all on that visit. There was no discussion whatsoever there. And so coming out of that weekend,
that was kind of why people felt like he was lukewarm, like wasn't wowed by Florida the first time.
Yeah, and there were people that, coming out of that were like, not just the fact that it was lukewarm, people coming out of that closer to Florida and, on Nebraska's end as well, that essentially said, well, what the heck is Florida doing? We feel good now. We feel good about, Nebraska being able to hold on to his
Florida State felt like that.
Yeah. And so he visited Nebraska, and then coming out of that visit, there were people close to CJ, people, advising him, people around him, and people on even Nebraska's end that felt, okay, a shutdown is coming. This Florida State visit, if it even happens, is just going to be a formality. And that's what proved to happen. Over the last week, I had people from Florida and, again, from the Florida Gators reach out to me. I know they've reached out to other media members. I know they've reached out to figure out what the cost is, what the price was for CJ. That's where they were at, was they were like, okay, we need to figure out how much, because Florida realized that at that point they messed up. They should have talked to NIL that first visit. And that's just, and again, like that is just part of the recruitment of a top 10 cornerback in the country is NIL is definitely part of the conversation, but it wasn't the deciding factor here. It ultimately wasn't. Florida wanted to make sure they had an offer that was fair and at the table. They, kind of were able to get him back on campus for a pitch. And ultimately what it came down to is talking to CJ, talking to his family. It didn't come down to NIL. It came down to wanting to be closer to home. And Florida is the program that's closest to home. Billy Napier is the coach that, Nebraska obviously took this recruitment personally and did a really good job of recruiting him through the finish line. The difference here was when Florida offered, through the point they got him to flip, Billy Napier was the lead recruiter. Not Florida's defensive backs coach, not some assistant on staff. It was Billy Napier. And again, Matt Rhule was involved. All of that happened. But you're talking about, a guy that, the opportunity to stay closer to home, paired with the fact that the head coach of the program is recruiting him, on top of the fact that, okay, well, now, they're pretty aggressive from an NIL standpoint. You factor those three things in together, it's just, it's tough. It's Nebraska did everything right. And that's part of recruiting in this day and age. You can do everything correctly. You can do everything by the book. You can do everything to win the traditional recruitment. And ultimately, it might not matter because, the opportunity to stay closer to home, the opportunity to compete in the SEC, NIL, all of these things do ultimately factor into these quote unquote final decisions. I still don't think it's over necessarily. I do think CJ, is probably going to truly shut things down at this point for at least the foreseeable future. But, with him, with a bunch of guys, there's a world where, again, like Nebraska wins a couple games, strings out some early wins in the fall. They turn around and they're back in some of these recruitments.
So let me ask you something, TV. So when we're kind of going back and forth and, with whether it's Cooper or Tadarius Hughes or a lot of Nayland Scott, is it just kind of fanning, or how do we kind of parse through, well, it seems like when it could work out in our favor, we're okay with it. When it goes the other way, it's we don't like NIL and the flexibility of what's moving. Do you think we'll be able to have a conversation at any point without it being said by the staff when and how they'll actually have takebacks with certain guys? Like, hey, I know it looks like it may be this. And maybe they don't go that detail into the explanation. Maybe it's more about what they're actually looking for during the recruiting process, where they can kind of set the record straight on guys that they'll entertain coming back in the fold. Because some guys have tried to come back, and Nebraska's like, thanks, but no thanks. Some guys have thrown out numbers, and Nebraska's like, no thanks. Do you think they'll ever care enough isn't the word, but we'll have a good enough idea on how they actually like to go about the recruiting process where we won't always speculate like that, or will we just let bygones be bygones?
Part of it is the market dictating. Like, that's where, the market's kind of dictating values for guys, and they come to Nebraska and present a value for a guy, and Nebraska's like, well, here's how we are operating. We're operating, within this 20.5, and we're not going to do that. I can say this, talking to recruits that Nebraska has gotten, and there's been some concern this week about Nebraska's NIL and the resources. There's commits and there's players on this program, and there's just people in general that understand how the money works behind the scenes that will tell you Nebraska has more money than a lot of these big SEC powers. Nebraska has a lot more money, has more resources from an NIL standpoint. It's how they choose to spend those resources.
Tim, I'm gonna really need you to shout that for
yeah.
I felt like Gilligan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just I need this is gonna go Irish Spring here for a second. You old school folks may think it's Dial. My soapbox with this, Tim, is I've said this for months. You want Nebraska spending money the way that they are. They are extremely selective. It is tiered. They are going to work with a ton of savvy. You need to show some want to. You need to be invested in Nebraska first. It's almost like, yeah, you have to jump through some hoops. But if you want to get to where you both want to be, it has got to be a two-way street. And all of a sudden it was, well, it's coming down to NIL and Nebraska needs more money. And I'm like, you guys, that's not it. oh, DB just homering. I'm like, listen, I want 18. I want any of these NIL outfits to still make money. Don't get me wrong. Keep giving to 1890. But let's not operate like Nebraska is destitute and can't do what they want to financially. It's just in their nature to be fiscally savvy. In the long run, it's going to pay dividends. Like, and I
and they've only,
I was getting, it's just frustrating. It's like, because there was this narrative, and some of it was in the media, and, whether it was message boards or even guys like it's going to come down to, and Nebraska's not, no, Nebraska can. It's just, do they want to?
They
like,
may not.
Stop saying that.
Yeah. There's a difference between, because I had people, someone quoted me on my post earlier this week on like, just say you got outbid, man, it's fine. It's like, that's not what. Again, there are times where there's a difference between getting outbid and being like, you know what, we're walking away. We're not spending that type of money. We've shown you everything we have to offer, and that's the part of it. I don't think, the average, and I'm not saying Nebraska fans, because I think Nebraska fans recognize the program they have right now and the resources they have at the program right now. But the outsider doesn't recognize the leverage Nebraska kind of has when they talk to these recruits. When these guys come on campus and they see the facility and they talk to these coaches that have been in the NFL, and they talk to an Addison Williams and a DeKeel Shorts, and they look at their track records, and it's like, well, you have an opportunity to come here and get the best, training, the best nutrition, to live in a state and live and operate out of, a literally state-of-the-art facility that, programs across the country that can't compete with. And this is, like, again, proven at this point across the last year, from recruits in the 25 class and the 26 class and the 27 class that have been all over the country, that have seen all these other programs and seen all these other facilities, and they know Nebraska's is the best. Nebraska has the best facility in the country. So they operate off the leverage of that. And if and when they do start winning some games, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, they have a whole lot more, leverage now, where it's like, oh, do you want to be part of a winning program that has all of these resources? Then here's our fair valuation. Like, here's where we see you're at. And there are big boy programs right now that do have that success, that are able to do those things that Nebraska can't really right now, because they don't have that success. So yeah, there's this points where, but at the same time, Nebraska isn't also going to go out there and say, okay, well, we don't have the wins yet, but we really want you. So here's we're going to set the market for you. Here you go. Here's the highest offer.
Ask Sanders Jr., ask Pritchett, ask Spin, because and the beauty of it, and sometimes it means a couple of things, but I use the same term. Like, I always say, if Nebraska starts winning, they'll become a monster. Guess what's not going to change if they start winning?
How they spend.
How they spend.
Yeah.
Guess what's not going to change if they start winning? How they evaluate. If they win, the consistency of what they want and how they go about doing their business isn't going to be dictated by the level of success. That way, they'll always be able to control the greatest variable if they hold up their end of the deal. That's how you want to do business. I don't care what sector you're in. You want to be the least vulnerable to variables at the end of the day, and that's how they're trying to position themselves.
Well, and one of the biggest variables, it seems like right now,
is it's what players want and what agents want. They're not gonna succumb to that.
Well, it's player movement, right? Like, player movement.
Well, in general, yes.
Yeah, is one of the biggest variables right now. And so if Nebraska says, like, if Nebraska truly believes, and I think this is true, that, hey, if we can keep a team together for 2 or 3 years, instead of being like, I think they're more concerned about vetting prospects than they are about winning recruitments in terms of having guys be there long term. And so you'd be able to speak on this more than I can, but that's the sense that I get. Is it seems like other programs are very, very concerned about winning recruitments, and they'll take their chances on the
while
back.
Nebraska's betting on themselves.
Yeah, they'll take their chances on the back end that the kid sticks around, or they'll be successful enough, or they'll make enough money that they won't leave. Whereas it seems like Nebraska's like, hey, we're going to make sure we have the kids that absolutely want to be here. That way we know we've got 2, 3, 4 years to build a winning football program.
Like, we've seen it tried the other way, so why not?
Like, is that a fair assessment on some of the differences here, Tim?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. And I would also say this in some conversations with some sources close to the program this week. I mean, there's a belief that come the fall, some of these school kids that have chosen to go elsewhere because of from hey, this is the highest bidder or whatever, the money's going to start looking funny as signing day comes closer, and they're going to be looking around because the money's not what it was. And, and we see that multiple times at this point, primarily out of the SEC. But where it's like, okay, they can't really follow through on the promises they made, or, the money isn't really there, or like, oh, I committed to this guy and now he's on the hot seat and I don't know if he's going to be my coach. There's going to be some of that in the fall. And if Nebraska takes care of business in the fall, they could be on the receiving end of it, or they could just be in a position where, okay, I mean, like a CJ Bronaugh, for example. Nebraska really wanted CJ Bronaugh. They'd love to have CJ Bronaugh. If they leave this summer and they close this weekend with Devin Jackson and Danny Odom, and they land Darian Jones, they may just be like, you know what, CJ, we're good. Like we got our DB class together. Like we're good. Like they may just be in that position. And I can say this too, like from a pure,
it depends on how open he was with Coach Rule and how he feels about
exactly how he approached. Yes, how he approached.
He's not going to be played and say, "Oh, you want to come back." Like I said this from the jump. It better be a good reason why you didn't come around the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like, and that's just kind of, I mean, where things are kind of at right now. And I know that's frustrating to hear, but like, it's not any different than what we've been saying since before last football season, where Nebraska needs to string together some wins and the recruiting wins will come. And we saw, what a 7-5 season did for them on the recruiting trail in terms of the portal and how they were able to close last cycle in terms of showing them, okay, we're making progress. You show another step forward in progress. You see the groundwork that's being laid already in the 2027 class. Just yesterday, I put up, a tidbits piece on like, hey, here are the top guys they've already reached out to. And all of these guys have already visited campus. And you're talking about, 5 of the top 6 offensive tackles in the country. You're talking about some of the top edge rushers in the country. You're talking about the number 1 tight end in the country. You're talking about some of the best wide receivers in the country. You're talking about some of the best in 27. And again, if Nebraska takes care of business in the fall, we're not going to be having these NIL discussions. We're not going to be having these like, oh, Nebraska. And at the end of the day, like, I want to add this in as well, because I got some pushback when I said Nebraska's not going to, kind of compromise the standard for anybody. Nebraska isn't a top 25 team yet, but that doesn't stop them
from carrying.
It's not going to prevent them. Yes, from operating like a top 25 team. They want to get to that point, so they're going to be recruiting like a top 25 team.
Yep. Now, again, I said this a month ago, 2 months ago. Hear my heart. I'm not saying it's lock, stock, foolproof that they're going to win. But what I will say is I don't have any problems with them rolling the dice on their culture and their belief system. It's clear that this season is integral in terms of if their blueprint is going to work. You don't have as many pups as they have on the roster, but imagine if they win with only 34 upperclassmen. They're going to be able to dictate what and who they want as supplements, not necessities. Like it's, I can't say that any clearer. It would be if they win. It's just
and it's a gamble. Like it's a game. Like that's the part of this where it's like, okay, the flip side of this is like, okay, you don't win, and all of a sudden you're in a position where, okay, how are we going to bring talent in? Are we going to have to like? And I still don't think the staff is ever going to get a point where they're going to be desperate enough to, kind of overspend in the portal or do this or do that, because they understand what the trajectory is. And I think they just generally like where they're at right now is operating under the confidence that they are going to make that leap. And I understand that's a gamble, but Damon, this, Ravi, like there's a ton of confidence in that program right now about them getting over the hump this year. And that confidence doesn't feel fake. It starts with the fact that the guy they need to make the biggest jump, Dylan Raiola, is the hardest worker in the building, is the guy that's leading everybody else. The fact that you've brought in a bunch of culture fits out of the transfer portal, the fact that they've hit on some of these guys out of the portal, they truly believe in themselves. And yeah, of course, there's questions. We'll get into that as the season comes close about this roster and what they can do, but they are operating off of a confidence in what they have in the building. And you can't really disagree with that if you're not in the building. You just can't.
Well, and here's the other thing that I want to bring up, Tim, is and you mentioned a couple of times like that it is a gamble, and you're right. The thing we don't talk about is the other way is a gamble too. It's just you're just rolling the dice on something else. You're rolling the dice on outspending someone that maybe didn't really want to be there in the first place, and you're like, okay, is that compromising my culture? Or like you're gambling the other way too.
I don't like the term gambling, even though I probably said it, because I look at it like this. There's a reason you can go to a casino and get more points on your card. There are games that are more adherent to to having adverse risks or negative outcomes.
Yeah.
Right? Poker is a lot less volatile than blackjack or pie gow or dice, right? So not all gambling is created equal. And so the goal is that I think we have to look at, which is what I'm always going to keep coming back to, is if your recruiting philosophy is sound and your talent evaluation is good, you just need to put people, you need Greenspans, you need economists that can understand fiscal spending and asserting values to positions. Then after that, you don't compromise it. This is what it is. This is where it's slotted. This is what we can do. Oh, by the way, in addition to, you're going to get this, and this, right? So the more you can do that, the less of a gamble it is. It's the antithesis, Tim, and you can agree or disagree with this, for me would be going out and trying to spend and pay top dollar for asking prices. To me, that's more the equivalent of rolling dice than actually playing poker, right? $100 in poker can last you 8 hours. $100 in dice could be gone in 100 seconds, right? It's not the same.
Yeah. No, there's an investment, because there's also the idea, not idea, but there's also the blatant fact that Nebraska is in a different position than, some schools in the SEC or, like a Ohio State or a Michigan, not from a winning perspective, but from a location perspective. You can't go out and spend, excessively on a kid and bring him into Nebraska practically sight unseen and say, well, enjoy. And he's like, oh, I don't really like Lincoln. I'm so far from home. I'm all of this. I'm just going to take my money and I'm going to leave after a semester. You can't do that. That's not financially responsible. And at some point, it's going to, that bill comes due. We've seen some programs, suffer from that. We've seen some programs, kind of get burnt by that. And I've said this, to recruits before. I've said it to parents before. There's a dirty little secret out there that there's some top programs out there that don't really dive into the tape. They just kind of look at the recruiting rankings and say, we'll carve out this amount of money for that guy. If he turns it down, we'll just move on to the next guy on the list. They don't really dive. And so if that guy accepts the money and he comes to campus and he doesn't really work out, then it's like, oh, well, you spent all that money for a guy that you didn't really evaluate and you weren't really sure that he was going to work out, but you saw the ranking and you saw this and all of that. And yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into the rankings, but there's also the idea that, hey, some guys physically mature and physically peak in high school. It's on the coaching staffs and it's on the coaching staffs to do their due diligence and make sure they find the right fits and find some of those things. Nebraska right now is just not in a position where, they can kind of compromise the culture they built in the locker room to kind of spend money to bring in, bring in a guy just for the sake of having the guy on the again. Does anyone benefit from having a 5-star on the roster if the 5-star doesn't do anything?
No, it's actually more of a detriment.
People
use that against Nebraska from. It's not even a 5-star. It was their most highly touted guys weren't panning out. That was used against Nebraska from 15 through 2022 more times than I can count.
Yeah, you need
wide receiver,
wideouts especially.
Why would you want to be a good player coming out of high school and go there? Look what they've done, and it was used against them.
Right. So yeah, it's just you have to be, smart and again, you guys know this because you were around the program and you understand. Nebraska has a pretty strong team culture right now.
Oh yeah,
they're not going to stronger than talking to some sort people I know in media at other programs and talking to coaches at other programs. They're kind of intrigued by what Nebraska has done from a culture perspective in this day and age, because there are other programs that can't really replicate that, don't really get the team bonding, don't really get, hey, people can kind of look over. I said this maybe on this show, the first or second camp Nebraska had, there was a recruit that camped at Nebraska who had siblings that play in the SEC or have been recruited in the SEC. And the kid currently is being recruited by the SEC. And I was talking to his dad, and he said, man, this is my first time on campus, but you can tell these guys love each other. You can tell, this is a team.
Sit Pritchett down, and he'll open too. He doesn't talk a ton, and he's typically measured. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in.
Yeah. So there's like, and he just straight up said, he name dropped Auburn. He said, you go to Auburn, you can tell the guys that make money versus the guys that don't. You can tell the starters versus the non-starters.
I mean,
he's like, there's nothing like that in Nebraska.
There's a lot of those examples.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those examples. Yeah, good. Best wishes in the portal going to Miami and having guys say good things about you. It's crazy.
No, you brought up the like 5-star thing. It's like, what did Missouri get out of landing Williams and Nwaneri out of high school? Like, was that good for their program in any way?
Well, you're getting some state pushback.
You know what I mean? Like, was there any benefits there? So I think the point's a valid one there, Tim. That's all I got for you today. That was great stuff as always.
I feel bad. 36 minutes. We need to knock it off.
Likes talking to us. It's all right.
You need to cut it out. Good stuff, Tim.
I always enjoy the show. I appreciate y'all making the time for me.
Appreciate the time as always, Tim. That's Tim Verghese inside Nebraska.
One of the reasons too is, I think, from a credibility standpoint. I mean, Tim's a guy that's not afraid to say what he thinks, not what everybody else thinks. And sometimes he's caught in a ton of pushback, sometimes publicly from people giving it back to him. And so I like the fact that he does his homework, doesn't just go along to get along, and over time it will play well to credibility. And so for him to outwardly talk about Nebraska's culture and be vibing with the philosophy about not just the flavor of the day or who's the hot recruit or I mean, I was losing my mind over the Marty Brown thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was sitting here watching it happen.
I'm like, you guys have I don't know, you guys, this isn't right. Like, you're not getting it right. And I go back to Sanders and, Spindler. And you want Nebraska. Again, I don't know if they're going to win.
Yeah.
But this is typically how, if you're investing in a company, i.e. the fans and tickets and support and all that, you want them showing the kind of responsibility and fiscal restraint that they're doing, because it has to fit. And I used it locally in a different way. I said, hey, you got to show you want to be there. If you show you want to be there, and it may mean camping, it may be whatever.
Coming to campus a few times.
They just got to weed it out. They have to know that you can handle maybe not playing year one or reading about yourself.
Yeah, what comes with this place.
Going to the grocery store. Like, they have to know that. It's not they don't. I mean, they're putting you through the same kind of
vetting process.
It just is.
It's kind of funny too, because
the whole no money. I'm just like,
if
somebody else says
that's the dumbest thing.
And this isn't hindsight. I mean, I was pretty fired up from the.
I mean, how many times have I told you Nebraska has all the money they need?
Yeah, I said it
and
about.
You know it better than I do.
If they want to go get a hooper,
they could.
They could go get a hooper.
Here's the thing.
If they wanted to go get a football guy, they could go get a football guy.
It kind of reminds me, you talk about like, hey, I don't know if they're going to win, but this is a company you want to invest in. It's when I like looking at Baseball Reference and pitchers numbers and things like that, especially young guys. And I'm trying to, I see a trade go through, whether it's the Devers trade or whoever else. See a trade go through, and I'm like, I'm curious what these prospects looks like, especially in minor league ball, because some of the ERAs and stuff are so goofy in minor leagues that it's hard to tell, like, oh, is this guy good or not? So I start looking at the peripheries, right? I start looking at like strikeouts per 9. I start looking at like batting average, balls in play. I start looking at like walk to strikeout ratios. I start looking at all the other peripheral numbers to say, okay, I don't know if that's ever going to translate to a sub-3 ERA or 18 wins in a season or whatever, but I'm going to bet on all these things, right? I'm going to bet on the fact that, okay, if you're striking out 12 per 9, I got a pretty good shot. If you're not walking, if you got like a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, I'll take my chances there. If you consistently are holding guys to like a sub 220 batting average, I'll take my chances on that one. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to translate to you being the pitcher I want you to be, but those are the things I'm going to bet on. That's what you're talking about with Nebraska right now. Like, I'm going to bet on the way they go through this. I'm going to bet on the way they've built this culture. And part of that culture, again, you talked about with Kirby Smart, part of that culture is having guys around for multiple years.
Yeah.
And if you can't get a guy to come here and be here and say, hey, I want to be here, the chances of him, and again, because a lot of these guys are not very close to home when they're at Nebraska, right?
Yeah, you need to know
if they're cool with being here.
Yeah.
And that they want to be here, right? So, like, there's a huge, huge thing. And part of the reason I asked Tim some leading questions there, as you so nicely pointed out for me.
But you know what, though? I say that facetiously. But one of the things, the reason I think people like Tim on this show is because
he won't let me back him in a corner.
No.
Especially if it disagrees
And he's going to speak his thoughts.
Yeah.
And I can ask him hard questions. And we can talk hard philosophical topics. Like
part of the reason I was leading him down that path, though, is because
he's not hitting softballs.
I fundamentally believe that there is never a singular recruit that is worth compromising what you're about for. Ever. And I think that's what bothers me about the CJ Bronaugh thing, is where it seems like people are like, oh, well, you should have just outbid him. You should have just done whatever the X factor is, right? Whatever the thing is that people think, and it seems to be NIL, whatever the thing is that people think would have gotten over the top. We're like, well, just do that. It's like, okay, if the X factor is a thing that is outside of how you typically do business, you're compromising yourself for one guy.
Yeah.
And if you compromise yourself for one guy, that culture is gone.
I remember, and certainly not talking about the player or the situation, but it had gotten to the point, and I was talking to Coach Rule, and he clearly was frustrated, and he's like, DB, he's like, what am I even doing right now? Like, this goes against everything that I fundamentally believe. I'm out.
Yeah.
It's exactly what he said. This goes against everything that I fundamentally believe. We're out.
You don't get a guy that's as principled as Matt Rule and then in recruiting be like, oh, just outspend him.
No, he just doesn't want to have to go back and get it.
Yeah.
So it's just easier.
Tim talking about with the SEC schools and being like, hey, in the fall, the money's going to start to look pretty funny, and some of these guys are going to circle back.
Yeah. So
it goes, and I thought exactly the same thing that you keep bringing up. It depends on how willing you are to not do what you said when you're talking to a recruit.
And it's funny, too, and I had no idea. I'd love to say it because I would look actually smart as opposed to just opinionated. But when everybody was panicking over NIL and paying, I said the model you guys are the most upset with isn't sustainable, even for rich people. It's just not. Rich people aren't rich by investing in bad things. And over time, you need a few of these to go south. Don't be discouraged. The market will what?
Correct itself.
It will correct itself.
Yeah.
I said that from the jump. It's the model is not sustainable.
And what are you going to see
when you look at the things that we're bothered by? It will regulate.
And what do you think you're going to see in a few months here when, I guess in 11 days here, when you can start doing the revenue share?
That's July 1, right?
Yeah, and the NIL rules change. And that's why you have people in the
Although the NIL rules won't be as hardline because there's still so much gray, right?
Yeah, but
you know what you think the parameters are, but there's a lot of subjective words.
Well, there's a lot of subjective words, and there's a lot of I think there's a lot of details to be worked out with the kind of oversight committee still. But that's why you've got SEC coaches talking about you're going to get 20% of what you had last year. You're going to get whatever you had last year because they already are seeing that legally the model has not been sustainable. And so they've changed the rules on them. And yes, NIL is still going to exist. Do those people have the infrastructure and the wherewithal to be able to navigate that, to still get those guys all their money? That's why TV's talking about the money's going to get real funny in the fall. It does anyway. It's even more so this year. When signing day comes around, the money's going to get real funny for these teams that haven't figured out how to get NIL
if you're at
done.
If you're at the mercy of asking price for the sake of talent, you're introduced. You might as well be playing pie gal or dice.
Yeah, it's random.
It's no coincidence that one of the first things of the 600 pages that Coach Rule had yet to read of the 700-page tax code, the joke that he made, what's the very first thing that he came out against?
Which one?
Pay periods.
Oh, yeah.
For the portal.
Yeah.
Of all the things that he could have talked about that he had gleaned information about, the number one thing that he spoke out about
was when guys from the transfer portal get paid.
And not wanting double payments.
Yeah.
He lets you know.
He doesn't want people to double dip.
He lets you know right then and there how he feels about money. Whether he has it or he doesn't, you would never know. I'm telling you, even through the hiring and vetting process, you're going to get what you earn. There have been some guys that have gotten raises, and ask them, it's come at a cost. You know what the cost is? Being evaluated much more frequently on the job.
Yeah.
Do you want what comes with that? Not just giving you money.
Yeah.
Not just elevating you in a position. I know that firsthand. Like, it ain't happening. And he's certainly not going to get into a deal with high school guys or college guys that are going to command this. And it, like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to be at your, like, no. I've been miserable with money, as Coach Rule would tell you. I have a lot of money. I have means, and I'm still capable of being miserable. So you best believe I understand that it's not going to be some mythical game changer. I can't stress that enough, which is why I bristle up the way that I do. It's also, and I hate to say it, but it's one of the reasons that I brought up 2 months ago about Sark, right? There's one day that you can discuss revenue. Outside of that, it's a wrap. I don't have any problems with Texas's culture.
I'll say, which I can kind of respect. I can respect that.
Yeah, hey, you got one day, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day. This is when we do this. After this, it's not coming up again. Are we clear?
Yeah. It's like an open enrollment period when you're getting insurance. Be like, hey, this is when you have the opportunity to do this. The rest of the year,
I mean, the last 2 years, it's pain. It's like, I don't want to gravitate towards anything Texas is doing. I don't. And I know they got a ton of money.
I'm the one that,
but
a lot of people have a ton of money that aren't doing with it what Texas is.
But do you know what I think part of it is?
What's that?
And this is way philosophical. And I believe it's the two aforementioned guys have had some real hardships.
Sure.
In their life in terms of hitting bottom.
Yeah.
And when you hit bottom, you become a lot more appreciative of the day-to-days and not the frill because they hit bottom while they were having a lot of the frill. So they become much more substance-oriented to insulate themselves.
These guys have, yes.
The practicality of it's just,
Because, it's funny you kind of bring that up because I agree with you that hitting the bottom while you've got all the frills can lead to some real.
And sometimes it's personal
growth and appreciation. But
sometimes it's not on the job.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like Sark's especially, like he went through some pretty public personal problems.
Kiffin's another one.
Kiffin is another great example. You know who's a guy who's an example who I don't think learned from it?
Ask Saban what he learned being
fired from Miami.
Yeah, and Belichick from Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Especially those guys who there's a point at their lives where they probably think they can do no wrong.
Yeah. And the good ones typically learn from it. You know what I think because he made, I follow the list, the top 5 list guy, overrated, underrated. And Brian Kelly was number 5 on his overrated coach list. And he's a 2-time coach of the year, right? And I said, no, why is Brian Kelly on it? And what's going on with Brian? He has yet to kind of show any lifelong learning from mistakes made.
Like resolve.
Just keeps doubling down, which is maybe why he's not evolving.
Yeah.
Right? Some other guys that have kind of gone through that, it's like, okay, like what happened to me and why?
Yeah. Some people aren't willing to self-evaluate, though.
Well, believe me, you want to know firsthand? It sucks.
Yeah.
It's zero fun.
There's a guy that actually his program got brought up. I can't remember if it was you or Tim that brought him up. that I actually think is a version of a guy that has been through it but has not self-evaluated, and that's Hugh Freeze at Auburn. It doesn't seem like Hugh Freeze has learned anything.
Yeah, that might be an example and I don't know enough about how he's acting.
I don't either, but when I hear like, hey, oh yeah, it was Tim talking about, we were down at Auburn, that you can tell the guys who are getting paid versus not getting paid. Like,
yeah, that's
a
guy that hasn't changed his behavior after hitting bottom.
Right, because he was able to get back to where he wanted to go without having to self-evaluate. That's how it seems, right? That would be my concern with, not really concerned because I don't care if it works out at Auburn for Hugh Freeze, but that would be my concern with guys like that is you're right. You have the opportunity to learn and self-evaluate and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody chooses to.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a choice. It's not an automatic thing. Because I do think Matt Rule is probably a different person before Carolina and after, right? Like, that's fair, I think.
Oh, what did I tell you yesterday in the parking lot? You got some growing up to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
everybody's like, there's always more growing up to do.
And I'm 51.
There's always more growing up to do. Let's take a quick break here.
Sometimes I am. See, that's why I appreciate the Sams and the Tims, and because I mean sometimes like the way that we talk and kind of the delivery is not just 42 counter, jump 83 Y stick or pin downs or flare screens or pitch outs, right? Power plays in hockey. Some of it is, a lot of it is philosophical, and it has some depth because in this market and in this state, we've seen it a multitude of ways. The only thing that we collectively come back to a fan base is not necessarily an error in terms of wins, because it's proven that that's not always enough. We want things to be done a certain way.
100%.
And when those things aren't done a certain way, philosophically, with how it lines up across the state, at some point, it's going to bug you. So I'm always trying to center around like what's below the topical stuff. I mean, and I get it. Sometimes it's heavy and it's not fun, but it does handicap you with the facts, as my former great boss used to say.
And being completely honest about it.
Tim, they let us take them there.
It's the thing.
We can ask Sam hard questions.
Yeah, it's the thing about sports that I care about the most.
How it relates to life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The philosophical stuff, how it relates to life, because otherwise it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
I love sports. I love the actual games.
How do you grow? Like, the self-awareness thing is huge. Nebraska has to know exactly who they are. You think they haven't collected data on what's worked and what hasn't worked?
Yeah.
What I tell you, Rule said where he felt like he was behind during the bowl game from his staffing standpoint, where he felt like I was kind of scrambling. He was having to do – December was wearing them out.
Oh, yeah.
Because of how the infrastructure was set up.
Everything overlapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I need them over here to do this, but they're forced to do this, and they're over here doing this, and I need them to do this. And he goes, public enemy number one when January starts. We need realignment with what he wanted to have happen in the department.
Who does what?
What is the first thing that he attacked?
Getting
realignment.
Getting Pat Stewart in here and getting
I can have Troy do this, or I can have Keith do this, or I can have Avery do this. I can, he's just constantly trying to position himself to work from ahead. And when you have an athletic director who very much functions the same way, and I got to see it firsthand listening to some of the stuff that was asked in interviews of play-by-play guys. It's so forward thinking, it's crazy, which is why anytime I get a chance to say at some point, and maybe they do have to win, but I am a big fan of getting your flowers while you're still alive too, especially as men. I think we need to be a little more appreciative, without the necessary results in the win column, of how Nebraska has navigated and functioned in a very volatile and unsure time as kind of steadying their growth. Like they're actually in a better position on June 20th than they were on January 20th. And I think they're dealing with far more variables.
Yeah.
Because do you know what makes far more variables? It's a It's a kind of rule. They're operating under kind of rules.
Yeah.
A lot of people can play a lot of games if you know the rules that are being played. The worst game to play is when you don't really know the rules.
Yeah.
And they're functioning at a high level within the game, and they don't really know the rules.
Yeah.
Because they got 10 toes down in terms of how they're going to operate fiscally. And the kind of people that they want to bring in, you have to want them too.
And I've talked about this before. They have a philosophical conviction. They don't have detail convictions, right? So the details can change and their philosophical beliefs don't.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's your constant,
it's no different than relationships.
Yeah. If that's your constant, you can weather anything.
Yeah. If you're dealing with a boss or you're parenting, or if you have somebody that deals in minutia, it's just a red flag.
It's tough. It's a tough way to operate because the details always change. The details always change. You have to have philosophical alignment. And everybody knows that I've, got my man crush on Rule or whatever. Part of it is what you said. I love the way he operates, right? Yes, I want the wins to come, and he needs the wins to come.
Yeah, Lane, I do. Rule is 3-10 in one score games, 1-8 in November, and hasn't beaten a ranked team at Baylor at Baylor or Nebraska as a Power 4, Power 5 coach. We need to appreciate the process. Yeah, I do. I do. And Baylor's vastly different from Nebraska, navigating the NIL era and still getting good players in the program. Yeah, I absolutely do. I do. And no one, and it's not mutually exclusive, Lane. I still want them to win. I'm not just happy to be there. I don't know about winning because the season hasn't started yet.
That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next. I'm Ravi, Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at West Roads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to West Roads.
$2.50 round trip. Can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
You're a Louisiana kid. How much does this mean to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. This is everything that I've ever dreamed of, playing in front of all these great fans, playing with all the guys that I love so much. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for what's to come.
How do you describe what Jared Jones just did today?
I mean, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, that's his second walk-off hit of the year. Biggest game of baseball we've ever played in, or at least I've ever played in. And for him to come through in that moment, that was something special.
If you take a look in the dugout throughout the game, you guys are energetic, you're happy no matter what the score is, doesn't matter. Why do you guys have that attitude no matter what?
We're tough and we're confident. I mean, we've played in every kind of baseball game that you can play. We've blown out people, we've been beat, we've came back. I mean, it's just the toughness of this team, like we're never out of it, and that showed right there at the end.
Yeah, you got to step up for your team today in some big pinch hit situations. How were you able to do that?
Just staying focused. I mean, just knowing that the time would probably come at some point and just being ready, taking it one pitch at a time and ultimately not trying to do too much, just trying to get it to the next guy.
A successful financial future is built one coin at a time. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned saver, we've got the financial resources and team of experts who will be with you every step of the way. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Heading back to their second championship series here in Omaha. Last time they did this was in 2016. Blake, I want to talk about your journey. You started as a walk-on at this program. Your head coach shared that they knew you from a camp. You were wearing a jersey number, a red jersey. That's how they knew you. How would you describe your journey from going from a walk-on to now competing for a title with this program?
I can't thank the coaching staff enough giving me this opportunity. Shill saw me first on the, I guess, quote-unquote backfields of that camp, and he let Schnall know, and I mean, it's been a heck of a journey so far.
This team has had 24 runs in the last 3 games. What makes this offense so dangerous?
Just like the up and down. Shill has been saying that anybody can come through at any day, any night. It's not just one guy, it's the whole lineup.
2016 team has been in attendance. Coach Gilmore's been in attendance. What's it been like for them to be here, and how would you describe the brotherhood of this program?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the culture of this team. Like they're all coming back, and they love it here. We love them, and we love that they support us.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We're joined now by Mike Sautter. And as we're kind of in this middle of this conversation about kind of Coach Rule and some of the way things go about here, I kind of wanted to bring Mike in for part of it as well, because he sees this at the high school level and at the college basketball level quite a bit also. So, Mike, I'm going to kind of set this up long form here, and then you can jump in as well. We were talking a lot about the process of how people go about their business and how Nebraska does things, and we brought Nebraska basketball into it a little bit too, talking about NIL and bidding wars and all this other stuff. And we were talking about how we like the way Nebraska goes about their business. We like the way Coach Rule, the process and things like that. We understand, right? Like none of that really matters if the wins don't come, right? Like at some point the wins have to come as well. But we also know without a shadow of a doubt, because Bo Pelini is no longer the football coach at Nebraska, that winning itself does not get the job done either, right? Like we've seen across college football, guys that win national championships and then 2 years later lose their job because the winning is not enough by itself either. So I guess I get kind of frustrated when I see people like, oh, you just got to win the games. You just got to win the games. When we know for a fact, you don't just have to win the games. People also have to like the way you go about your business too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's look at Coach Hoiberg is a great example of that. They've won-ish, right? Like they made a tournament 2 years ago. They made a nice run to win the crown, whatever that means for the future. I'm not sure it means a ton. But he's also not gonna could Nebraska go out and in the transfer portal basketball wise and drop $1 million on a guy to get like a dude? Yeah, they could. But their depth would hurt, their balance would hurt. It probably doesn't fit the culture that they wanted. They could do that. But I don't think that would be the smart thing to do. Rather than do that, they've used their money and just kind of balanced it out as far as basketball is concerned. They're not just spending it all on one guy, and then that makes their bench be not as good. So their philosophy, it certainly feels like, is to have more of a balance, which I think is smart and fiscally probably the right way to do it because, well, look at Creighton, for example, with Pop Isaacs. Like they gave him some money and he was, frankly, didn't fit. I was going to say something else, but I would have got myself in trouble there. So he didn't fit. He didn't fit into what they did, and it didn't work out for them, and they got burned by it, to be honest. Now they ended up being fine and making the tournament and winning the game and all that stuff. But
spent that money more responsibly, they wouldn't have had the guard issues and wouldn't have had to play Steve 40 minutes a game every night. Like it did bite them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it bit them bad. So you have when you can build a team with more depth like that, because you're not putting all of your eggs into one basket, if you will, it makes a little more sense.
Have you guys surmised, or kind of what do you think? Because I'm listening to the counter argument, and Brian brings up an interesting point. I'm going to give you an example or two or three. He says, we have 2 coaches in football and basketball that have won whatever it is, 35 or whatever % of their conference games, and they're somehow loved. And in my head, at first blush, I'm thinking, that is kind of weird. What is it that we like? Manner in which they do business. We believe in them. Track record says it's going to be this or whatever, right? But then let me look at it from the other way. How happy would we be to win at a high clip and not have it be people like would we be cool with like Urban Meyer or Rick Pitino or
for me, Danny Hurley. People ask me that question all the time. Would I like Danny Hurley?
If it were the other way,
where they win a ton,
and we win a ton, but we don't like how they do it, would we be okay with that?
I don't think that's
it doesn't seem like it at first blush.
Certainly not here. They might be okay with it some places, not at Nebraska. I don't think.
Or how about this? This may be fair. What if, all things being equal, we could bring Bo back as is for 9 wins? Pencil it in for 9 wins. You think we would play Let's Make a Deal?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think Bo is probably a 50-50 proposition with most people. Like 50% of the fan base probably didn't mind. 50% probably didn't like it. That might be a little high on the didn't like it, but I don't know.
I never want to shoot anybody down just because they're saying something to the contrary. I'm trying to see what it is that I could learn.
Is there validity to it?
Is there? Yeah, like what are my alternatives? Or what?
I mean, the alternative. Patino's a good alternative to Hoiberg, I think, where you've got a guy. I don't know that anybody loves the way he goes about his business. I don't know that anybody loves interacting with him that much. Like, pretty tough hang, really good basketball coach, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't know how Nebraskans, and maybe Patino's not a good example because he's not quite as.
And it doesn't have to be extreme either, because it's not about. Not about Nebraska nice or cutthroat cheat.
Yeah, what about like Sean Miller?
Right, like it's not.
Sean Miller's maybe a good example. He wins a decent amount, not so much that you're willing to like. Patino wins so much that you're just like, as long as he's not like committing any felonies, we're pretty cool. But like Sean Miller wins a good amount, like more than Hoiberg for sure. But I don't know that anybody really loves him. He feels pretty greasy sometimes in the way he goes about his business. Like, was Nebraska okay with a Sean Miller as opposed to a Fred Hoiberg?
And maybe, probably be okay with that.
Don't you have to pit it against the program's success?
You do. And that's why I think people have brought up winning percentages, right? You brought up the conference winning percentage. Somebody brought up Rule's overall percentage.
I'm just trying to understand the lane train.
Like Nebraska in basketball, and Kyle brings up a good point. There's been 3 coaches in all of Nebraska's history that have brought them to an NCAA tournament.
Oh, fudge, I got to do this.
So Hoiberg being one of those guys is an accomplishment. Right? Like that is an accomplishment in that scenario. And going to, like, I'll give you this example. It's one I've used before. And Mike, I know you watch a ton of college football too. Who's a better football coach? Mike Leach or Larry Coker?
Ooh.
Okay.
They're different. Like,
knock it off.
Mike Leach.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not even like Larry
Yeah.
Coker.
Stevie Nicks landslide.
Like, right? You know who has a higher career winning percentage?
Larry Coker.
Larry Coker. Kind of significantly, right? He does.
Right.
He took over a Miami program that had one of the best rosters we've ever seen in college football. And then rode that for a while, was able to sustain it for a while, kind of fell off, still was able to ride that super high winning percentage, right? Mike Leach went to maybe the 3 worst power conference jobs in all of college football, maybe ever outside of 80s Kansas State.
Well, you say the same thing about Rule.
That's my exact point,
right.
Right? Like Rule going to Temple when it was at the time that they was there. Baylor is maybe one of the worst jobs anyone's ever taken over in that context. There was hardly anyone even on that football team after the Art Briles stuff.
Yeah, I mean they were dead. Like
by the way,
they essentially had gotten the death penalty.
Yeah.
Like it was like taking over SMU in the late 80s.
Right. Yes.
And so we like using his winning percentage, maybe not the most accurate because the fact that he got that team to 10 wins in year 3 when it took SMU, I think 30 years to make a bowl game again is unbelievable. And that wasn't even really in the transfer portal era where he could turn it over quick.
I guess because I used to say this all the time. Remember when Coach Frost wasn't winning and a lot of the press conferences turned into what we have and what we don't have. And I would always say, what are we doing in the meantime while we're waiting to win, while we're waiting to get better players? Right? Because that's just that's how I would look at business.
What are you doing to set the foundation to get what you need?
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that I'm gravitating towards being principled and having a philosophy in terms of how you want to recruit, how you want to spend money. Because I think in the end, if winning becomes the byproduct, you don't have to adjust.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's quick money. It's quick money pyramid scheme versus work hard, long money.
And it's just how much and how long can you afford to be in the hole, I guess, right?
Right.
Because with the fan base, they'll tell you like, and rightfully so, at some point you got to win.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Like, that's with everything, right? Like no one's saying you can go along this way and not win, right? No one's saying that. Right. What I'm saying is if you're going the other way, your pyramid scheme, your Ponzi scheme, whatever. Yeah, Ponzi schemes are great if you get out in time. You make a lot of money. But if you're there when the bottom falls out, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you think Florida feels about the aftermath of Urban Meyer? Do you think they feel good about that?
Not great because they still haven't bounced back from
like
that.
Ohio State ended up a lot better, right? They ended up with not better than they were with Urban Meyer, but they ended up in a better position than Florida did, right? Because they had a guy in place that was good to go. But like sometimes when you're left holding the bag, you end up like how many coaches has Florida gone through since Urban Meyer? Like 5? Is it 5? It's at least 4, right?
Yeah.
So
count interim.
If you count interim, it's more than that. Yeah, but you sit here and you go, okay, yes, you have to win at some point. That is a given.
I kind of figured out like part of why I am like I am about this. It's because it was drilled into me, especially from my first visits in Nebraska in the early 90s versus getting on campus and kind of how it changed. I just remember we had a coach that said they had a lot of good players in the past, right? They were rattling off first rounders and they couldn't get over the hump. And he wanted to revisit how they did business in terms of treating one another and changing the culture. And so I always kind of start with like mental makeup and that, because it's not like Booker was a better player than Pickens or Wistrom was a better player than Mike Kroll, right? Like that's not really the discussion. It was, why couldn't those guys get over the hump in crunch time? And I asked Dumas this once about the biggest difference between him being on campus pre and post that 92 class and the Unity Council and all this other stuff. And the easy answer is T-Phrase, but it was way bigger than that. It was the fact that, Coach Osborne would do things like wait on T-Phrase to give Mike Grant every opportunity to win the job, or, to wait on a guy like Brendan Stye having to start, or to play, Wiegert behind Boerboom, or like there was just this thing where there was this quiet transition into earning it and being other-centered and cheering for your teammates that actually changed Nebraska's culture. Until we started playing with and for one another, it didn't matter the kind of talent he was accruing, right? The way that you wanted to beat Sooner Magic was to be unified. Yeah. And so I always, I don't know, man. You don't get that life without Tomic and Wistrom together in it, or John Hess and Jay Foreman in it. And it does something to my spirit when I hear people just talk about, oh man, they had great depth. They just had fellas. And it's like, yeah, that was really hard too. Like that wasn't always fun. Like sometimes you wanted to be the guy or didn't want to cheer for the guy. Like I'm pretty sure, Mac-10 wasn't always interested in cheering for Mike Brown. You know what I mean? Especially coming off an injury when a guy gets to campus in '96. So it's like,
look at the running back room in that time though too. I mean,
and I try to take me out of it, but yeah, that's the easy one. But you had to do it in the quarterback room too,
right? Yeah.
So I just like the methodology in terms of how to run a program before I worry about what the end results are. And at some point, I'll get to what the end results are, but I don't want to build a house on shaky ground either, right?
Right.
I tried that in my personal life. That doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. Like you gotta. It just doesn't work. So yeah. I'm always gonna gravitate towards the methodology, and I like the fact they're not blowing money on NIL, and you want the right guy. And yeah, man, do I want to win? But I'm also smart enough to know I can't compare going to Baylor post Bryles versus the monumental increases in the program's development since Coach Rule took over. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not important for me to understand that he hasn't beaten a Power 5 opponent ranked, because I'm just a big fan of just because you have been doesn't mean you always will be. That just would be a miserable way to live life.
Right.
How many times do we hear in the pre-Warriors dynasty in the NBA, right? Oh, jump shooting team can't win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Team can't win a championship. Jump shooting team can't win a championship, until a jump shooting team won a championship. And now it's like, okay, just because it was true doesn't mean it's always going to be true. Like we're talking about, hey, Moneyball can't win a title. Moneyball can't win a title. Moneyball can't win a title. Guess how every team that's won a title in the last 20 years operates?
You know who I think of, Mike? Talking about this? I can't help but to think of a guy like Coach Petito.
Oh, yeah.
Won a ton.
Yep.
Set his own standard. And at some point, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And guess who didn't change?
He never changed. No.
Coach Petito. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was part of it, but he was still the same guy that people were vilifying behind his back. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't think I can ever move that way. I don't know. And I've seen, like at 80, it just, I don't know. I think Coach Petito comes to mind right away. Sometimes the winning just isn't. It's weird.
It's kind of like this voluptuous apple that I have.
You've been waiting to go to that apple.
When Bigfoot comes, I just hand this apple. And then I know Bigfoot's going to be in the area or something.
Oh, man.
You got to get off states and highways, though. You got to do the back roads.
So when Bigfoot comes, I'm just be like, here, have this apple. Don't eat me. Eat this very voluptuous apple that I have.
Harriet alone. I love Harriet. By the way, I think we need to tell her, listen, I'm pretty Harriet's not, she doesn't do drugs.
I don't know her well enough to definitively say whether or not she partakes in any sort of
that's fine.
In any sort of recreational activities like that. I really don't know.
Well, she was born in 45, so she's 80, right? She said she was 53.
Yeah.
She's probably done drugs at some point to believe that.
She was in her 20s in the 60s, so
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, some of those have a little more lasting impact on how people think and their thought processes and their, I do wonder, like, you would think you would see at some point, like if there's so many of them, which she says there's a lot of them, like you'd find remains at some point, right? Like I get the live ones don't want you to take pictures, but we've never found a body.
It's kind of like, it'd be kind of like dinosaurs, right? Like you would hope you would find some bones or something.
At some point, right?
Yeah.
Or you'd have some archaeological evidence.
What if they have found them, but they're just not?
No.
With?
No, Shane. No. Stupid. No.
They find them and they think they're dinosaur bones. Is that the?
Yeah. Back to the rule thing. Here's another example. And Ravi, you love talking about this. So when I moved into my house, my yard looked like crap. And that was 3 years ago. And now because I've manicured it and built it, and it looks pretty fantastic.
I will say I didn't want to give you credit because every time you send a picture of your lawn in the chat, I out of principle I try and ignore it. But I was really impressed with the DIY striper you put on there. That actually looked really good.
Yeah.
I've ruined a yard or two with slip and slides before, and you got that thing looking nice in a hurry. I was impressed.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a hole that my daughter, like you hit the slip and slide, same spot, right? Just rent it out for like 3 hours, and so we have a little spot that I'm gonna have to just reseed and kind of put some dirt in and do all that stuff for. But looks great. Yesterday I'd used the DIY striper diagonally. So
I didn't mean to be rude the other day, not listening to you talk about how you jerry-rigged your mower.
Yeah.
But after the 2 different screws and the taking the thing apart, that is so above anything I'm even capable of seeing.
It's a little extra.
I felt overwhelmed.
It was impressive, though. It was. I will say the results were impressive.
It works. It works just fine. I had to go to the hardware store a couple times, so it's just a broom. It's just a broom with some elbow, I bought the stainless steel elbows and some washers and lock nuts and bolts and all kind of stuff.
I get what it is now.
What's that?
With Lane. And this will fit right in your wheelhouse.
I was just going to bring this up because I was about to.
It makes
my top.
It makes sense now, though.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you know where he's coming from.
I do, but it's also just wildly inaccurate.
Okay, so the problem with kind of this philosophy and the pushback is, and this is his last statement that he made was, I guess doing things the right way is not recruiting the top in-state players. I guess that is the Nebraska way. So that's the truth of the matter, right?
But it's not any more well thought out than the rest of it because it's just not true.
But this is the difference between
me. It is this year, though.
This is the difference between me.
It's true this year.
This is the difference.
Okay.
At least I know what I'm dealing with. I don't have to agree. I don't have to disagree. It's his. What do you mean it's true this year? Because of Jensen and Thomalla?
They're
how interested in Nebraska were Isaac and Jett?
Isaac was and then wasn't. So that's fair. Had an official visit and then decided not to go on an official visit to Nebraska.
I get it now.
So Jett, Nebraska really didn't show any interest there. So he wasn't interested in them either. So it's fine. Which, by the way, yes, can I take a victory lap on that?
Are we going to hear the same thing in 2 years about Braylon Warren?
Probably.
Yeah, but I'd ask Steve and Braylon the same thing. How interested in Nebraska are you?
Also, I mean, are we just going to pretend like Nebraska had their quarterback commits for those classes really early in 26 and 27? So, I get – and listen, here's the thing that frustrates me about that sentiment, right, is, Mike, true or false, there's way more good players coming out of Nebraska now than there has been in most of the recent history from Nebraska.
True.
Power 4, quality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I think we're used to this. Hey, Nebraska's going to need 100% of the 3 guys in the state that can play power conference football. Right? That's what we see. We say, hey, there's a handful of guys. 3 maybe an exaggeration, but it's not some years. Some years there hasn't been one. Like I've been following this as long as you have, at least from a tangential standpoint, because I just care about people from the state. Like there's been years where there has not been 3 guys that can play power conference football in the state of Nebraska that are going on to Wyoming or North Dakota State or whatever. Okay. We have not adjusted to the fact that we're going on double-digit guys a lot of these years that can play power conference football.
Yeah, multiple years in a row now.
Probably not going to get all of those guys. That's just not – it's not practical, whether they want them or not, whether those guys are interested or not, whether it makes sense for their roster or not. Like, you're not going to bat 100 on 10 to 12 guys the same way you want to on 2 or 3 guys. I don't think we've adjusted this idea that just because you can play power conference football in the state of Nebraska, it's no longer the, hey, you're the one guy Nebraska can get out of the state.
Yeah, that's fair. And I certainly believe that. And it's great for kids to leave the state and have success and find success. We need more of them to leave the state and have success, because if you really
rooted on the next go.
Yeah, if you really think about it, in the last couple of cycles here, the ones that have left haven't been great. Xavier Watt's great. Fantastic, actually.
Kramer's doing good at Iowa State. Right?
There's a few below the radar. I like Ducker. I think
Ducker's been fine. He's now like where's he at now? Temple now. And he's had some
people sleep on him. I think he's 3 for 3 in terms of teams where he's landed. He's been their leading rusher.
Yeah, he'll be.
He had like a 1,000-yard season in Northern Illinois, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't hate on that at all. I like Ducker.
But there's guys like that, but then there's also examples of like we're still waiting to see, Caden Helms, Micah Riley, Ducker, those type of guys that we're still waiting for, right? Like so,
there's a lot.
Yeah, so we need to see that more. My thing is just, I guess, talking with the people in this cycle or this class, 26, maybe a little 27 too. It's like, hey, like we're 45 minutes away. Should we have to go to your camp? Like we're right here.
Are you? I don't want to pawn that off. And
yes, part of my opinion is I do believe that like, hey, we're right here, man. Like, should we have to go to your camp for you to show interest in us, for you to like recruit us and to do all that? We're right here. Like that's the questions, right? That people are asking or have. And I
get it, because a couple of those are right in my very own backyard.
Right. Like I see both sides of that.
I've seen Teddy, I've seen Anthony, I've seen Braylon. I get it.
Right. And I get both sides of that too. Like, I mean, geez, they're right here. Just like they're right here. You can see them a lot. Like,
but I will say one thing, and I can only say this about Braylon and Teddy so much, because I know that question has come from both parents, right?
Well, Teddy, Matt Rule has been very not publicly, but he has said,
and he's talked to DJ on a more than 2 occasions. Where, and I think it's kind of the same thing with. I do think there is something to them seeing you in their environment versus against other high school competition.
That's very fair. And Nelson Wheeler is an example.
And I think the one thing that sticks in his craw about Teddy is if he was going to run that time and test out for Notre Dame,
why wouldn't he do it here?
I guarantee you, Coach Rule wishes that he would have done that in Memorial Stadium. I mean, there's some validity to that. But on the other hand, could you understand a school saying we'd like to see you through our drills and in an out, because we have our standards of kind of how that translates?
Yeah, 100%. That's fair. It's a fair argument. And like I said, both sides, I see both sides of it. But I also look at like Miller South has 8 guys. We talked about this last week. And like, how many times did Nebraska go to Miller South whenever they could, like in the fall or even in in the winter in like January or February or whatever. So
what's like in the Jett the other day is another reason why I like him. I sent him a congratulations from 7-on-7. He was like, yes, sir. But when he was doing the interviews, like his self-awareness is one of the things that I've always liked about him.
I like Jett a lot. I really do.
Like,
I do too.
Just listening to him, I was like, man, okay. Like, hey, I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I had to work on this. I had to do that. Like, he took all that stuff and he used it as fuel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just hearing him go through the, interviewing him on kind of his journey, and I think they caught up with him at Elite 11. And just his own self-assessment, I was like, he's always going to give himself a chance because at a young age, he's capable of doing that.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Self-evaluating.
It's just really hard. And then, to be honest, because most of us lie to ourselves.
He's very mature. Like, he's very mature.
Like,
and his dad, if you know his dad, very measured, like very professional person. Like, he has been in had to have tough conversations with people before. So Jett will be fine. I am, I'm gonna be very happy for him. And look, the Alabama offer was legit. That's all. We'll say that.
The only thing I'm upset about him flipping to Alabama is I was really excited about Matt Campbell getting a really good quarterback.
Right.
Like, because I like Iowa State, I like Matt Campbell. Like, I appreciate what he's done with that program. It's a bummer that he's not getting a really good quarterback. I said, what did I say? It's a year ago. Like, I didn't understand why Jett didn't have any offers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I said that out loud, I think, on this show, where I was like, hey, that guy's pretty good. He's got really good size. Like, that's a dude that has, like, that should be being recruited at a higher level. And to his credit, he fixed some things that he needed to get better at, and he got that acknowledgement later in the process. But that's my only it's not even beef. That's my only thing that I don't love about the Alabama flip is I just really liked that Matt Campbell was going to get a good quarterback.
It was, I will tell you, I talked to him and his dad on Monday at our 7-on-7 event, and Jett wasn't there on Tuesday because he had to fly out to Elite 11. But it was tough. Like, it was on Monday. Like, when they were on the phone with both schools, and Coach Waters does a great job and had built a tremendous relationship with Jett and his family. And it was a pretty tough conversation, I would imagine, to have to decommit there, because they did build this. But most kids in that situation would have immediately been like, I'm dropping them and I'm going to Alabama. They took some time and really thought it through. So I need to it's a lot of credit to them. Again, it shows the maturity there.
I know it's I just like him.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
I've seen.
I know his dad better than I know him, but
I've seen better crumble under similar situations.
And I tell you what, I've seen that guy get coached really hard, and he's cool.
Oh yeah, he can take it.
The thing about Jett is, one thing when he was like a sophomore, I was like, is he athletic enough? But now he's pretty athletic enough.
I thought him throw down on somebody pretty aggressive.
Look at the basketball stuff. Look at basketball. He's a pretty athletic guy, and he can move. He can really move out of the pocket and do some things, and he's fine.
Jerome, so when as we're talking with Mike Sautter, when you talk about, hey, we're 45 minutes away, because again, I don't think you're exaggerating, because I know that sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
How fair is it to ask those guys in that same setting why you just don't shoot down the road the same amount of drive time both ways?
When guys from all over the country,
because it kind of is like my mom would say, like, she's like, you don't call me, and I'd say,
well, you don't call either.
It's a two-way deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what? So,
like, Nebraska has kids coming from all over the country to do the thing they're asking, and it.
why I asked the question? Do you know why I asked the question?
Why?
Because I was but I don't want to exaggerate. I had I've talked about this generally, difficult conversation with Coach Haycock about Caleb going to Ames and came to West Side, and I think I can say this. It just wasn't. The example he used is, I have this guy, and because Caleb canceled he canceled an OV, and it was going to be, it was inclement weather and whatever. And he said, I have guys that have come in from this place, and this place that are significantly further. We're only talking about 2 and some change.
Yeah.
Basically, I see better than I hear. And I was like, okay, not much I could say. So what's the first thing that I did is I said, well, hey, I talked to your DB coach. We can definitely own that. Yada, yada, yada. Now, that discussion, when I told Caleb about that, of course, his personality, it made him mad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because he felt like the reason was legit. And you just know how he's real linear like that.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a disaster from then on. But that conversation is definitely thought about amongst a lot of schools. Like, hey, come see us too. And I think it's like that now more, Mike, because school, you have to you're going to be compensated. So they have to know. I mean, you don't get hired without a real interview.
Yeah, see, they want
to. Right.
People can listen to my tape all they want, but they still want me to come in and talk to them. And you think I don't want to say,
hey, you've
play the broadcast?
Yeah, like get the offer or don't.
You know what I mean?
I also think people need to want to, before the interview, you probably need to have a couple phone calls and a little correspondence back and forth though too.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I'll say I see both sides of the coin for sure. But right now, like the sentiment with some Nebraska kids, families, coaching staff, whatever it may be, however that may be sliced, is, hey, we're right here. You need to show us some love too, and then we'll reciprocate it, I guess. That I think is part of this sentiment. So
fair or foul that this staff has spent more time in Omaha than any previous staff in the last 15 years. Certainly has. He certainly had Frost. Who?
Frost and Root's been a lot. What do you mean Omaha?
Wait, who?
What part of Omaha are we talking about?
Frost was coming to Omaha, like
what part of Omaha?
Frost was coming to Omaha like rural, yes or no?
West of 120th Street.
Well, who was out there that he was recruiting?
Oakhorn South a lot. And Burke.
Okay.
The other part
is an easy question. I kind of felt like it was a golf tennis ball question.
Yeah. Okay.
He hemmed and hawed over Larry Coker versus Mike Leach too. So
it's an easy question, Mike.
It is, yes. Rule has been here more, but I'm saying back when Frost.
Where was the first place Mickey Joseph went when he got the interim tag?
Was it Central?
Did he feel like he had some making up to do?
Gretna.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hey man, where's the first? Who did Rule want to go back?
Well, he's making up to do.
Who did Rule want to go back and take a look at the quarterback spot in Gretna?
Yeah, Zane.
Okay, man. Keep it a buck. Keep it a buck, man.
Well, I'm just. There was a lot of time spent west of 120th in the Frost era if recruiting.
I'm just saying.
Not a lot of time spent east of 120th Street or 70th. The 84th Street.
Doing a quick count here, I believe this number's close, if not dead on. There are 40 guys from the state of Nebraska on this roster. 40.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can genuinely sit here and say that Coach Rule has not. And I know that's
no, I'm not saying that. By the way,
I know there's some people in recent classes that are like, maybe they deserved a phone call, maybe they didn't, whatever. But there's no way you can look like there's only.
we thought Mickey was a god because he was in Omaha as much as he was.
Like there's 129 guys on this
seriously
roster.
Misremembering.
No, I said Damon. I said yes, he was there a lot, and he needed to be east of 120th Street because they had a problem east of 120th Street.
Things like hosting camps, free clinics east.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just said when I was talking about the Frost thing west of I was very tongue in cheek there a little bit. Hopefully people understood that was kind of me.
I don't know, man. We got a tough group. You got to be.
So
this is a tough group.
But people that know, they struggled in the Frost era. Really,
it wasn't this. Bo heard it. Riley didn't know enough. Like we just are.
Before Coach
we're
Rule
just saying things to fit our. You can have your own opinions. You just don't get your own set of facts.
Before Coach Rule, they had kind of a problem.
People had Cooper on the streets. You did a broadcast from a North game 3 feet from Coach Rule. That's their head coach, Jerome.
Yes, I did not. Hey, again, like I said, let me go back.
Down here with
I did not do that. I will never do that, by the way. Well, I did say hello, but I wasn't like, here, let's take a selfie or whatever.
No, I meant the microphone. Didn't you get him for a hit?
I can't. No, not me.
He was with Coach Knight and they stayed through like half or whatever.
Yeah, third quarter actually. Omaha North game last yeyear.
He's not baby Gronk. He's not getting selfies with Coach Rule.
Hey, that little dude, man.
Dude,
he did do some investigating.
I'm just saying, 31% of the roster's from Nebraska.
I was not saying. I'm not like, okay, you guys are gonna get me in trouble.
We all need a hug. I need a hug. You want to hug it out?
I gotta drive to Kansas City here in like.
Oh, what's in Kansas City?
The boys basketball event.
The music for a second.
Oh, the showcase.
Yeah, the Midwest Basketball Showcase. So I'll be there today and all day tomorrow. And listen to tomorrow's schedule, by the way, on basketball. We can talk about this. Next week. Let's talk a little more about what I meant and said. But the boys basketball Midwest Basketball Showcase is in Kansas City this weekend. Division I coaches will be there. There's teams from Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas. So it's a good event. It's always fun. I've been to every iteration of this event, even back when with the first one they ever had when they did the Scholastic events with live periods in June. So yeah, like Grady Dick was at this event.
Hey, was that the same event we went to that where they take a couple guys from each school that Cable was there? Remember?
Yes, but they changed it to where it's whole teams now. Yeah, it's whole teams now. So yes, it's the same event, but it's entire teams instead of
That's
just.
Kind of a cool little deal.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I love it.
I have a lot of coaches there. That's where I actually got a chance to pick Crutch's brain on his philosophy.
Yeah, I love the event. So we'll be there. Jacob is I got to meet Jacob there. I have a dog.
I remember crying to you about how loaded a ropes team was from Nebraska.
Yeah,
I mean, those guys are putting in work. I was like, dang, man, who divvied up these teams?
Yeah, I was at Staley High School then. Now it's at home field in Kansas City. So
Staley was a beautiful campus.
It's no wonder why they win a lot. So
gosh, they was amazing. I mean, how many gyms did they have? 38, maybe? It made Northeast look small, and Northeast has like 18.
Northeast has 7 full courts in their high school. Omaha Central has 1.
Full
court.
Just tell them.
1 full court. Yeah. When people complain about like winning and like, oh, we don't have whatever resources stuff, I'm like, Omaha Central did it with 1 3/4 courts in their entire building. So no excuses. Like practice time was whatever. So that that's where I'll be tomorrow. There's a game. It's wild. The schedule is nuts. Like 8 a.m., 10 p.m. is the last game. There is a team from Nebraska playing every hour on the hour, starting at 8 a.m. and the last one at 10 p.m. It's a long day.
Well, have fun, big man. Enjoy some hoops in Kansas City.
Yeah, I got to see Jacob, though, the whole weekend, so we'll see him out there.
Hey, is he good enough to where he can share the wheel, or are you still the control freak and want to drive?
No, I like driving. I think he likes driving, too, because I drove last week, and this week he didn't want to. It starts at 12:15 today. I have my wife and kids are out of town for last night. Yesterday, they get back this afternoon. So I have to take the dog to a vet appointment here at 10:30, and then I'm going to leave right after that. So that's why I won't be there until about 2 or whatever this afternoon.
All right, we'll take care of our boy Jett out there. Make sure he's the dog, not Thomalla.
Man, that dude's fine. He don't do shit. He just lays around. Wow.
All right, Jerome.
Appreciate you, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Eat that apple.
I ain't gonna lie though. I do love Jett.
Thomalla? Dude, me too. I don't know Jett. I know I've hung out with his dad some. I played pickleball with him. I like his dad a lot. Like, I like his dad a lot.
Yeah.
He seems like a super cool dude.
Dude is nice.
You know what else I like a lot? We're going to skip a break here and get right to Verghese, but I also like our friends over at Central Federal Credit Union because if you need an auto loan, they've been voted Best of Omaha for auto financing multiple times. They've got you. They can get you pre-approvals and the financing rates that you need. Go start your application today. I'm talking to you, DB, because I know you need a new car. CentrusFCU.org, federally insured by NCUA. All right, let's get right to our.
Oh, see?
It's Matt Vrzal, former Husker owner of Piezons. What's up, Verz?
What's up, fuckers? Is it sunglass day?
Yeah, you got me. I didn't.
You guys didn't text
me. You think that's funny, Matt?
No, I got an eye procedure done. My eyeballs hurt.
Oh,
you don't feel so good about it now, do you?
What eye procedure did you have done, Matt?
I had a glaucoma test.
Gummies don't fix glaucoma, or do you need the natural green?
Hey, here's the Damon will buy somebody a large pizza at Piezon if you know what movie this is from.
Dexter's. Hold on.
Take your glasses off so you can see it.
Cue your jokes. Dexter's Lake Club, Otis Day, and the Knights. Shama Lama Ding Dong. Shama Lama Ding Dong.
No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have a procedure done.
Yeah, you. Like I believe.
You felt bad for a second, though, didn't you?
He said, "My glaucoma." No, actually.
Listen, I was a little.
I've experienced a lot of feelings. Feeling bad for your glaucoma and made-up story isn't one of them.
As somebody who's had a couple eye procedures, I was feeling for you there for a second.
And mine actually hurts, Maddie.
You know?
I'm trying not to rub
your eye hurts?
Yeah, one of my guys, Boyce, explained to me what it was, and I don't want to pronounce it. It reminds me of, it's a cross between chorizo and calamine.
Fasciitis?
What is it? Is it?
I couldn't.
I
never
Calmazon?
I never saw it.
I'm not something like that.
He said he got chorizo in his eye.
It's not what.
Oh, okay.
Well, and those are terrible glasses. Do you wear those?
These
on principle, or?
Are you kidding me, dude? These are awesome.
I just ask you.
These not great. These are so good I can't even see my computer screen with them on.
Really?
It's like UV protection for that. I look like a badass in these. What are you talking about?
He kind of does look like a cop in those.
Well, he's a jerk in nature, but cops are mostly nice. I don't know if I would.
It kind of gets like a cop.
Oh, good cover there.
What?
Calling cops nice. I got it. Good job.
I got a lot of buddies, man. A lot of buddies on the force. So what's been going on, man? How was the week? What happens in 110-degree kitchen when it's 110 degrees outside? Dude, those ovens are in
question a lot of your life's choices.
What?
You question a lot of your life's choices, like why am I here?
Like,
I mean,
what am I doing here?
I'm not even. Listen, I'm totally never going to vouch for you anyway, but that oven area is hot.
Yeah.
And you got to cool down the rest of the place. Like, are you just banking on to-goes these days? Or?
Oh, no. It'll be. I mean, last night we were at party in the party room. And then we were full in the dining room for 2.5 hours.
Yesterday?
People want to avoid the heat.
Yeah.
The main dining area, we got that kind of figured out, how we can keep that cool. Kitchen. Just no.
Are you doing the fans above, or
we didn't have to last night, and it stayed real nice. So we didn't have to do that yet. We will have to do it probably today. Kitchen, you just hire badasses. Like the world ain't soft. I mean, we ain't got time. We ain't got time for pussies. Like it's a man's game back there.
Who we rolling with today? Yeah, we ain't got time for those people.
We got CB and Dooch will be up front. Chloe being Chloe's gangster. Chloe's a tough one.
Yeah,
she'll be in tonight, work the register.
She low key
kind
of she talks kind of slick too. She can defend her own. Like,
no, you're thinking a different one. Chloe's a silent assassin. Chloe don't
dark hair ponytail?
No. Chloe don't fire like that.
Okay.
That's you're thinking of Michaela.
Yeah.
In the back, Jay Footy's back from vacation. You know, you got to get a 7-day vacay in. Chase is on vacation down in Texas, so he'll probably be armed when he gets back. Listen,
wow.
It's a fact. I could lie to you and say he won't be, but he will be.
So 100 and some today, 100 and some tomorrow, and then
through Monday. I think it's gonna be 100 basically through Monday.
And I know you don't
get over it, man. Ain't nobody feel sorry for nobody. Just do your thing.
I'm just
saying. A lot of cold towels, a lot of Gatorade, Boss Spice Gatorade. We'll probably have ice cream. Probably have ice cream all the nights. I'll go get some ice cream.
Oh, what a nice boss you are.
Well, it ain't it's not. It's probably for you.
I've lived that, and it's. We will do. I'm all one step away from buying this water gun.
Yeah,
the machine gun water gun that I see on TikTok.
Yeah, that was on my TikTok, man. That thing
throwing ice cubes in that thing and just shooting everybody with it.
That thing does look pretty sweet. You can like put the clips on there.
I do kind of want one of those.
Yeah,
but maybe that'll help me get over my fear of guns.
When you buy yours, buy me one.
Oh, okay.
I will promise that I won't shoot you on Tuesdays.
I'm more into like Nerf guns than I am water guns, but they have pretty sweet both of those on the TikTok shop. Like I'm very tempted.
So
Nerf gun's probably a predecessor to like a real gun. Like you could go
there's two things I'm currently captivated by on TikTok.
What's that?
The bighorn steak oven thing that you can get to like 1500 degrees. Where you know, and they have them like they're for little individual size. I want to really check those out. And the other one is kind of new. Because now they're trying to scare me into when China and Russia attack and they're going to knock out their grids. Those solar. Shut up, Matt. I ain't finished the story.
I know what you're saying, though. I know. Go ahead and finish. But I know what you're saying.
You get those battery packs that run off of solar power with all the little adapters. I was like, God, those things look pretty cool. Now, my phone probably wouldn't charge after 2 times of using those or hold a charge, but I'm not going to lie, man.
Solar power.
No, I'm talking about one. I get what's going to run the battery pack, but those things typically drain your battery quicker after you start using them. But those things look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I clicked on because it said 64% off, and I was like, this can't be that good for $35.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Do not. No.
What do you think about? Have you seen those bighorn oven things like that restaurants use to sear those steaks?
I have not, but that seems a little bit excessive for
you. You don't eat. Do you even cook other than when you're not at the restaurant?
Yeah. I mean,
meal prepping cold eggs and Ziplocs.
You're gonna spend somebody to like a 1500 degree oven that you're gonna use to sear steaks.
Well, it's quick too.
What do you want to like? Do you want to make your family's eggs in like 2 seconds? It's like, get them.
I don't even know why I try to rationalize with you.
I understand it. Hey, buddy, I know you like to booge. Like you yelled at me that I was cutting whatever I was cutting at your birthday wrong, but I was just kept cutting it. What was I cutting? Pork?
Corned beef.
Yeah, corned beef.
Corned beef burn ends?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then I love the fact I was like, hey, how do you want these cut?
And
like
I didn't.
Then I start cutting them. Not like that.
Hey, so I went downstairs for a second.
Following the original instructions?
And I came back upstairs and I go, no, not like that. And he goes, hey, buddy, more than halfway in, you get what you get. I was like, okay.
Follow the instructions you gave me.
And he had the knife too. So I was like, that's fine.
Hey, but guess what? Did everybody eat them?
Oh, yeah, that was.
If they weren't spot on, measured to cubed perfection.
I haven't done a whole one since, and I need to.
I know. I ask you about it like once a month.
I know. It's a lot of time and effort. And those packers are like $4 a pound. Take some time. Maddie, I have a couple of questions.
Great.
So, just philosophically, with what's going on with the portal and whatever in NIL, whether it's under or overstated, which one, if you had to pick one, because I know you'd say both, and you're always going to do this, would you never compromise getting linemen out of high school, or would you never compromise getting a quarterback out of high school?
I personally.
Are those the top two positions where you still have to continue to always do the high school thing, non-negotiable, first of all?
No.
What's another one? D-line?
I would. Yeah. So the field has changed so much, okay? Because I can go now and get like a higher quality film on all kinds of players. So I don't even know if I have a ranking.
It's hard. You can't make a living with linemen out of the portal, though. There's too many. You need too many.
So I would agree with linemen.
And everybody wants them.
I do think you can make a living out of quarterbacks out of the portal, if you're in certain places. Like that appears to be some people's philosophy, is just go portal shopping for quarterbacks every year.
Is Matt just giving me that look, or did he freeze?
I think he froze.
Oh, I was like, what did I say where he's giving me that?
I did think he was like just staring at you for a minute, but I think he's frozen. Shane, do we want to try and get him back?
Sure.
You think you can make a living getting quarterbacks out of the portal?
More so than linemen.
Well, yeah.
More so than linemen. I would prefer, because that's one of my big beefs with Mike Norvell, isn't having not developed a single quarterback at Florida State.
We saw it happen with Michigan.
Michigan, same thing. I do wonder about like what Dan Lanning's doing long term,
Iowa, like
Miami long term,
yeah.
Iowa. Like there's several schools that have, but there's also schools that have gotten away with it. Like Miami so far has gotten away with it. We'll see if what happens with Carson Beck. Oregon so far has gotten away with it.
What has Miami gotten away with though? They haven't won.
I mean, they won more than 10 wins at Miami is a drastic improvement from where they've been. Like Cam Ward got them basically what they wanted out of Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Now there wasn't other things in place to make that team
because I think
better
most would tell you that they grossly underachieved.
I don't know how good that roster was, so
let's look at the draft.
Fair. I don't know how much better they were than 10 wins though. You know, like I don't look at that team and I'd be like, that should have been.
So just you're talking about just the 1 year.
Yeah,
it's not crystal ball. Okay.
So it's not, but it appears that like it's worked for them the year they tried it. We'll see what happens. Because obviously it didn't really work with the Van Dyke situation, and that was an out of high school guy. So let's see what happens with Carson Beck if he gets them where they want to go or closer to where they want to go. With Oregon, it worked out with Dylan Gabriel. We'll see what happens with Dante Moore. I do wonder long term though more about offensive and defensive linemen than I do quarterbacks.
We have Matt back on the phone.
Oh, okay. All right, Matty, do tell with the feel with film and how you can evaluate easier.
I would not. I would back off on all of that, and I would find character. Like,
God, we talked about that and we got crushed. Not really.
Good.
We got some pushback.
You know what happens when you're getting crushed? You know, you got people that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Oh, wow.
Because you get folks in there that think, oh my God, I'll take a super shitty person or it's a great athlete. Let me know how that goes for you. Okay? And listen, we had guys that played with us that had their problems, but you know what they were? Good ass human beings. Until you got a little booze in them and then shit went haywire. Okay? So for those
certainly good teammates. Certainly good teammates.
For those dorks that are getting after you for not saying that character matters, guarantee their kids' teams lose. I guarantee it. I will guarantee it that they lose. Because they don't get what it takes to build a team. Because you can't have somebody in there that's an asshat. Because he will disrupt an immensely talented team. AKA 1990 and 6. You lived it and I lived it. Okay? If you want a case study, there it is.
Have you heard anything? Yes. Have you heard anything I've said this morning? I'm going to go with no.
No, I had a glaucoma test. I was a doctor.
Isn't that not weird that he brought up the
Almost
90
the
and 91? I brought up
exact same thing.
That exact analogy on how it's not just about having, because we're talking about like NIL and what's being like what you're willing to pay for. And I'm like, guys, at some point you kind of have to appreciate how Nebraska's going about doing their due diligence.
Because people are getting mad that they're not just going to go out bid for a guy that, like, go out bid another school for a guy that they want, because it seems like Nebraska's trying not to compromise what they're about for one individual guy. And that's how we got on this topic.
But you know what? The ones that don't get it, let them not get it. Because they're going to be the ones that make an ass out of themselves at a game. Then hopefully they get out of the stadium and we get a fan in there that gets it. Like I ain't got time to drag you along and teach you. Like that's in the words of the great Damon, that's a you problem. If you don't understand, if you don't get that, I can't help you. Because listen, how many years have I come on your show? DB, gladly come on your show. How many years?
Oh, it's been, I don't know.
It's a long time now.
Yeah, 10 years maybe.
That was decade? Almost a decade, yeah.
Decade. Said this from day one. Said it from day one. Like the guys that don't get enough credit for the great runs in college sports are the guys 2 years ahead. Because those guys laid the groundwork for what we became.
I said it a little different. I said everybody laments and waxes poetic about depth, but it's not always fun. Like sometimes you're on the waiting end and sometimes you're on the teaching end. It's cool to run through the depth chart, but it isn't always rainbows and butterflies. You got to have some unique individuals.
But it's okay. We also lose perspective on what we became.
That's interesting.
Okay? We were at the pinnacle. Listen, I had people in from Louisville, LSU, Arkansas. Okay? SEC and an ACC. They're all like, the minute they figure out, hey, what are all these things on the wall? I'm like, oh, those are all my teammates that I love to death. Played with them in college. Some of them are from other, sports at Nebraska, but mainly football guys that I played. You played football in Nebraska? I was like, yes. I know. I didn't know. I was not a fullback. I was much fatter than. I played line on a participation level. Okay? On a participation level. To a human being, they would sit back, put their hand on their foot and be like, man, you guys back then were so good. But it wasn't a collection of the top of the top. Now, if you look to 80s, 9 wins guaranteed, lose a heartbreaker, right? Get into the 90s. You know you're going to win 9. You get some transcendent talent in there. Okay? The depth is there. You just need the transcendent talent. The transcendent talent shows up. And look what happens. You have to build a culture, a core, and a structure to live by. Why do you think, and I know people get ready to roll your eyes and save me the recruiting bullshit because it's legal now, but they will say, how does Matt Turman sustain success? He's got the same shit that happens every year, and then you get transcendent talent, a Tyson Gordon, a Van Dyke, a Kaliga, right? Creighton Coley.
How about
Isaiah Ramsey will throw in there.
The Andersons?
Blake Anderson.
Yeah.
Ryan Emanuel. DJ McGargle. Kyle O'Neill. Like, you get way good players in a structure that they already know, and they'll go kill. But you have to build those things, and we were in such a bad spot before. We wanted a 24-hour, 365. We're building it overnight. Guess what, Earl? That doesn't work. It takes time. And if you want them, and if you trust them, if you believe in them, let them cook, as the kids say. But in the words of one of my good buddy Paul's running backs from Doane, when they were undefeated for 4 years, and Paul was the center and he was the running back, and he just kept running into the running back, and he just said, Paul, get out the way. Like, we got to get out of the way. Because guess what, Bill and Bennington, no offense, Bennington, you ain't making any calls. So be as pissed off as you want. But let them cook. Let them do their things. Because if you go watch what they're doing now, It is light years different from what it was when they got here. They understood the assignment. They understood the shit show that it was. And they are slowly building something. I'm sorry it doesn't fit your time frame. Okay? But it's going in the right direction. So don't worry about who they do and don't get, because evidently the guys they're getting, it's working pretty good because they're moving up the chain. And now you just be what you are. Because there's still guys, Ohio State, Michigan guys, I see them on my TikTok, they're still telling, hey, hardest place to play, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And then they will tongue-in-cheek say, we're up 40, and we're still getting yelled at by the fans. Well, guess what? Now, if you guys just keep doing your job, which is being the best fan base in the country, and let the coach do their job, which is getting more talent and being better, then, hey, we might intersect sometime. We're going to have a party.
Yeah, it should be interesting if they win, man.
You've got to build core, culture, and structure. I wish I had an E in there because then I could call it CTE, but I don't have one. So.
You could say environment, but I don't want to.
There you go.
Then you won't give me any, it's not as necessarily yours, but I'm sorry.
I'm with you. You're in. We just created CTE, me and you.
Appreciate that.
Class of 92, thick as thieves forever.
You know it, ride or die.
You heard it from Verghese first. Let Rule cook.
Let him cook. All right, Maddie, behave yourself, buddy. Stay cool if you can. Next time.
What Zoe hit this week?
She hasn't played yet, but the next time I see you, do you have a? I'll just text you.
What nights does she play?
Well, they got a game tomorrow if they get it in, but she's spending the night at her brother's tonight down in Lincoln.
Oh.
I know, right? I'm terrified.
So they always play on Saturday?
Well, they do this week. I don't know if they're going to get the game in because of the heat index, but we'll see.
Yeah. You get a Tuesday or Wednesday game on that schedule. I'm just going to text JC. You'll never tell me. I'm coming.
Knock yourself out.
All right, Verghese, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Nah, I don't want to be done.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave, so you can keep talking to him if you want to, but
we got to get out of here, Maddie. I'll check in.
I don't get paid
See
over.
you fuckers.
Wow.
I don't get paid overtime for the last 6 minutes, so I don't know. Shane doesn't either. So we're out. No, that's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We'll be back on Monday. More Hurrdat Sports live right here from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget, you can get 75-cent wings all weekend, Saturday and Sunday, right here at La Vista or Papillion. Come see the restaurant. Come back and see us on Monday. DB, Shane, have a good weekend, boys. I'm Ravi Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at West Roads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to West Roads.
$2.50 round trip, can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.